Got to be prepared.
All right, what's up, everyone? Got a great night planned, hanging out with some cool dudes, and yeah, we let Immortal hop on, I guess. Whatever. No. We got the Fandom Menace.
The gods, old and new. Thank you.
We got Stephen Walton, author, Stephen Walton, and Mike Rogers, editor of the book. Say hi and tell us what you got going on, in case someone doesn't know about this project that's triggering leftists everywhere.
Go ahead, Mike. You take that
one. Stephen has compiled a mountain of information, including where our community came from, how we all got here, where the spirit of these consumer from, which includes everything from Gamergate to any kind of fan protest, that might have been involved through, Battlestar fan reaction, everything involved to what has become the large fan reaction that has been known as the Fandom Menace. And so Stephen has taken historical information, compiled it to show a pathway of how a place such as we've arrived is reached. And then after that, we're into a celebration of the community. Did you guys hear that, or did I get cut out?
Hi.
No. There was just a pause, and so I thought, okay, that's the end.
No, I was full screen for a second, and so I thought, maybe we're glitching. So I just paused for a second to make sure you were okay. Good evening, Amy.
Hey, Amy.
Hi. Sorry for being late.
Yeah, no. There's no need to worry. A lot of my streams, I have people come in and out. Lethal Light will pop in for 10 minutes on his lunch break. It's wacky stuff over here, so feel right at home.
It works for me because I'm never on time to anything. So.
Well, good, because you were 1 minute and 34 seconds late. You are on par, Amy.
All right. Well, that's actually it's almost early for me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Hopefully, one of many times on this show. I'm not sure if you've hung out with them, but yeah, we're hanging out with Steven and Mike and my buddy Immortal Core,
never talked to them before.
Fellow plumber.
Yes, Plumbarius. I have a very amusing story about a pea trap that would bore everybody except Angus.
Awesome.
Immortal is a real man. Rookie didn't have any chest hair until he hung out with Immortal Coil once.
That's true. His balls descended in my presence.
I was waiting for you to say in your mouth.
No. I leave that up to you, Angus.
No, it literally sounded like you're going to lead that way, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, Amy, I'm going to warn you now. Angus is a safe space for me to be completely terrible. So I'm just going to apologize now for anything I might say.
And as the editor, I'll correct that as the editor. What he meant to say was, this is a safe space of awful.
Okay.
So to follow YouTube guidelines, we say fuck words. So change the channel if you're a tiny child who accidentally found this.
And hit the not for children
in here. Yeah. Oops. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Oh, hit the not for children button, Angus.
Smash that not for children button, chat.
There we go.
Put them in the refrigerator box.
I forget about that unless I'm on my phone editing. Yeah, good heads up. So Steven, walk us through a little bit of this book and stuff. It's kind of weird for me to guide this because I've picked your brain a lot off air about this book, so it's really just however you feel delivering to the chat, and then I'll just kind of build off of that.
One of the things that one of the questions that have been asked about this book is why should I get it if it's just going to be about stories and YouTubers that I've already been watching and I'm already familiar with? And my answer to that is I have spent the last year compiling information as to the rise of the SJW in entertainment with the help of some other people in the community, such as Ichibaka. So I have compiled a story because I am a science fiction writer I've compiled a story for you in chapters that will guide you through the beginning of the SJW, starting with Gamergate. Though I give you some background before that, because there was a precursor to this, to the PC culture that led up to Gamergate, and then the label of social justice warrior. I go through as much as I can, as much as I could condense Gamergate down into one chapter, which was very difficult because this was a story about ethics in journalism. There was a character by the name of Zoe Quinn. I think we're all familiar with this character, and how she first rose to power, or infamy, if you will, by sleeping with several different men, one including her boss and other game journalists, in order to get favorable reviews for an indie game she created called Depression Quest. This led to, once this had come out, exposed by her ex-boyfriend at the time, then the gamer community began to question the ethics of game journalists in their reporting. Now, there had always been a relationship between gaming journalists and gaming creators, kind of like, just like the access media, in entertainment and all forms of entertainment. But the real question had been brought up because basically this woman had been trading sexual favors for favorable reviews. And the media completely ignored this issue. Not only did they ignore it, but they began to push a false narrative where Zoe Quinn was a victim of misogyny in gaming. This was the time of the racist, sexist, 30-year-old white men living in their mother's basement. Something very familiar that we listen to right now in the Fandom Menace from the creators of Ghostbusters 2016 and members and employees of Disney Lucasfilm, among others, of the racist, sexist, 40-year-old white men living in their mother's basement. This entire line of events that began at Gamergate, the pushback with YouTubers and with gamers against a organized false narrative by several publications. Milo Yiannopoulos, I can only mess up his name. Milo Yiannopoulos exposed a mailing list, an emailing list of 150 different personalities that were connected to several different publications and writers and reporters that all were collectively sent narratives to push in gaming. And they would do this. This was an organized effort to create a false narrative to shame people who were detractors of social justice ideology in order to enforce the false perception that the aggressors of Gamergate, the actual criminals, the ones who were creating unethical standards in journalism, were the victims. And they completely ignored the ethics in journalism question, even up to the mainstream media. There are several different personalities that came out of this that we know today that began during this time. And they completely ignored the actual argument, much like they're doing with Star Wars, ignoring the actual argument in favor of pushing the false narrative. I'm sorry, just before that, the foreword written by Ruin the Man Baby Johnson is a declaration of the Fandom Menace from his perspective. He's a wonderful author. He's written a series called the Dystopian Series. It's available on Amazon. Please check that out. After that, then we go into Gamergate, and then we go into basically going through the motions of what has built up to this point, and as far as Ghostbusters 2016 and Battlestar Galactica from the Sci-Fi Channel. That fandom also went through something very similar. It's almost like a prototype to what has happened to the Star Wars fandom, in that creators stepped in, destroyed the old, brought in the new, race-swapped different characters and gender-swapped characters, and then called the fandom misogynists because they didn't want to accept a female in the role of a favored male character, Starbuck. Now, I watched that series, and I did enjoy that series, but the thing was, the creators of this series were so foreign to the actual source material of Battlestar Galactica that they began to blame, the traditional audience of Battlestar Galactica as being misogynist because they wouldn't accept a gender swap, when in fact, in the original series, there were several different characters who were women that could have been chosen, that were strong female characters, that were their fighter pilots, that had storylines and story arcs that were built. Again, with the media at that time, they ignored the actual argument and pushed a narrative, which basically destroyed the traditional Battlestar fandom. I show you Ghostbusters 2016, everything that happened with that. just to fill in the gap of this was the beginning. This was the beginning of an entertainment as we know it within within movies and entertainment in movies, excuse me. And then I move through into my personal experiences. I go through The Last Jedi and pick that motherfucker apart as if it hasn't been picked apart enough. But I try to give you a better understanding, or people who are reading this who may not understand the actual argument of the Fandom Menace, how we felt as a fandom to have been betrayed and labeled and assaulted by the media and by Lucasfilm employees at Disney with no apologies ever. Not to this day ever has there been an apology issued by Disney Lucasfilm. Walk through a short chapter with Mark Hamill, which then leads into the beginning of the Fandom Menace, just before the beginning of the Fandom Menace, and that is where Volume 2 will pick up.
Okay, so no Rose Tico chapter yet.
No, there is mention of Rose Tico, of course. She was in PLJ.
And Steve, the Mark Hamill chapter that we put in, Stephen had originally the vast Last Jedi chapter that he spoke of. It was so disproportionate out of some of the other work because he had done a lot. It was a lot of interest for him, obviously. So what I did was I took some of the portions out that had more to do with Mark Hamill, and I think that everyone around here will agree that Mark deserved his own chapter. And so I talked with Stephen. He thought it was a great idea, and so I condensed most of the information that Stephen had in some of the Last Jedi material. I just moved it into a chapter all for Mark on his own, and all of the relevant material with that, with the quotes and everything that Stephen had collected. And that way there's more of a linear progression through the criticism of Last Jedi, whereas everybody knows why we're upset about Luke. And so I figured it was better that way, just for the fans to be able to have that one specific spot that they could dwell on for the moment, because it means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you actually pointed out how there were almost like teams disseminated to mess with Gamergate in particular, and it really stinks of political maneuvering. We saw a lot of that stuff in the last American election, and it makes me wonder if Hillary won, would these sort of entertainment attacks on our beloved franchises, would it be covered differently by the media?
I'm not entirely sure, but since we ventured into politics just for a moment, which is one of my interests, and I know we try not to get too political within the community because we want politics out of our entertainment. This was a system that began in the mid-2000s by people like the founders of Vox and Polygon, who spoke at a Microsoft research meeting about how they wanted to consolidate the liberals in California and Silicon Valley in order to push out the Democrats who were moderate or conservative Democrats, because they do exist, to push those people out of the party to actually take over the party itself with extremism, with extremist far left views. This was something that was built upon from 2008 after the Howard Dean 2006, 2008 after the Howard Dean campaign by these individuals who went on to found Vox and Polygon, who were also in Gamergate and also to this day still push false narratives on behalf of the far left. And so this has been a building propaganda campaign of misinformation, of controlling information in order to condition the populace to believe the narrative that they wish you to believe. It's like a loose cabal, honestly, of different information or quote unquote news outlets that work together in order to condition the populace, the unwashed masses, into believing what the rich, the millionaires from the ivory tower of Hollywood and politics, espouse down to us, the weak masses of the working class and the poor class. It's a very sad, and yes, this was also very much a part of the election in 2016. This was the machine that pushed for Hillary Clinton. Whatever you think of Donald Trump, I didn't vote for Donald Trump. Whatever you think of Trump, the issue with me in that election, seriously, is not so much that Donald Trump won, it's that Hillary Clinton lost. And we have seen the backlash that is still happening to this day from the journalists and the Democratic Party in their misinformation, they're constantly harping in this misinformation campaign, this trying to get him impeached for fucking nothing, and over and over and over again. And I mean, so they really got pissed off. Like, they had worked very hard to control what you see, what you hear, what you're allowed to know for the last 10 years. And then they lost. And the backlash of that has been one arm, entertainment. And the Fandom Menace, as I presented, is trying to get that out of entertainment. I'm not focusing on the entire culture war or the information war. I am focusing on that aspect of entertainment, where we have many different entertainment publications, producers, companies, all working together to push a false narrative and then basically defame anyone who does not capitulate to that false narrative.
Yeah, Amy,
Yeah.
excuse me. What are your thoughts about what Steven's presented so far with this campaign in this book? And if you want to add anything political with what he said just recently, go at it as well.
Well, I do agree that politics is way too involved in our entertainment culture, and it's very creepy. It's very easy to fall into that PC culture, and I did myself, and I believed all of it, but it just got to be so intense where I was like, this is weird. And then I was like watching like Joe Rogan, and I heard him kind of like voicing a lot of like the things that I agreed with, and I was like, wait, other people think like this, and it drew me out of it. And now, like, looking back at a perspective, I'm like, whoa, whoa, that's crazy. It's so they're so married, like between like big tech, mainstream media, and then just the entertainment media. It's so much, and it's scary. And
I'm sorry.
they're all just so entangled now, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I like you, I hate to admit this, I didn't vote because I didn't know who to vote for. I just had to sit it out, and I hate that, but I really just felt I didn't feel like I didn't know what to do, so I didn't vote for either. And I should have done like a write-in, but I didn't. And I that's like,
Abstaining is your right, Amy. There's nothing shameful about that.
Like so many people like have fought for that right, and just to waive it, I felt like.
Well, I'll give you a little peace of mind. Potentially, I don't know. Maybe it won't resonate with you, but I'm a vet, and getting out of the military, I kind of became, at least for a while, I think I've centered myself, because in this extreme, and then I kind of see all the errors. And so I kind of get more extreme the other way, not leftist per se, but a lot of like anti-military, kind of like, well, this is all just like some game, whatever. It's a lot to get into, but
Yeah.
I'm for a while, until just recently, I kind of like, well, you know what? Let me just try throw my hat in the ring, I guess. But I was an abstainer. I was someone that's like, well, there's this whole argument of like, well, you don't vote, you don't get a say, you don't have a right to complain. And it's like, well, I do, because I didn't choose this shit. I didn't choose to contribute to a system I don't believe in. And so I think there is a valid point to abstain that resembles what you were saying. But in the same light, my personal take on the two-party system, I'm going to register Republican here in Ohio, and it's not necessarily that like, oh, Republicans are great or something, but the ideal of the platform is like, let's try to be as libertarian as possible, kind of, from my view, except we're in a society, so we have to have government to maintain those interactions civilly, through the means of fear of punishment, essentially. It's like, oh, if I do this, the government will punish me with money, imprisonment, etc. That's just like the necessity at hand. But the platform, regardless of what individuals in the party do, in my view, is let's have as little of government involvement as possible. So, I will finally vote national election come 2020. I'm on that Trump train, but I totally get if you want to abstain.
Yeah, no, I actually I didn't know how he was going to do, and you know what, he's kept his promises, and it just seems more sane, honestly.
Sorry,
I
see the
just the
picture.
other side is just they're seemingly to me not logical, and I'm not trying to be rude, but I can't make heads or tails of it. I'm just like, what? So
Yeah.
you want to take away a whole bunch of shit? Nah, I'm good.
Amy, I'm in the
Sorry.
same boat you are. I'm a '90s liberal, and so when we got to the 2000 teens, I began to around 2012. I wasn't able to recognize my party. I wasn't able to recognize what they were doing. I didn't understand what was going on. The values that I had been voting for and fighting for. I'm a religious minority. I'm the son of a lesbian couple.
Oh yeah.
I grew up in a Democratic area. Like I've always had those those progressive values, and I still believe in them to this day. The problem is that the party that I supported for all my life has gone so far to the left, so far to socialist,
Yeah.
that I have now gone from a left-leaning person to like the center right. And I don't know
Yeah.
how that happened because I didn't move. My values didn't change. My party changed.
Yeah, I mean I've heard this like a lot, and I mean I've guess I would have always called my the only time I've ever voted Democrat was like in the like last November, you know, just because like I was again, like I said, caught up in all that, and
Mhm.
that's how. And so like I thought I didn't know fake news was real, and then when I found out, I was really pissed off. So it's so seeing it from both perspectives, like I can see how it's very much being brainwashed and without even having like it's like having not signed up for a cult but being signed up for a cult and you just didn't, or
Yeah.
it's like almost being like raised in one or something like that. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
but
no, no, no.
I mean my
I totally get
parents
that.
my parents are Republicans. I've voted Republican in the past, and
Hmm.
but I mean I don't know. I just
It
no
breeds
idea what Donald
mentalities.
Trump.
It breeds mentalities like the person here. I wish more black characters in comics actually like. It breeds people
Acted
that are
black.
self-righteous and pretentious, like this guy here, who's probably like some other like prissy white guy trying to look down at everybody to tell them how to live. You know, it's ridiculous.
But like when Shaft comes out, who was written and directed by a black writer and director, all black cast, because it's not toting the party line, it crickets, right?
Yep.
But we
But
don't
in the
like Ghostbusters because that fat bitch, right?
you
And,
bring
and
that Shaft movie
God.
out 20 years ago, and it would have been celebrated by liberals, celebrated because it was a
Which one?
reflection of the black cinema.
Ah, crap.
Oh,
I was going to click Mike's screen, but yeah, go on.
that was me. Sorry, Angus.
yeah,
No,
that's fine.
Mike was sharing
Go ahead.
something, and he dropped it, so then I hit you off the stream for a second.
That's fine.
Angus, nobody puts Amy in the corner.
Good movie.
You're such a misogynist, Angus.
How dare you?
Patriarchy.
I can't say it like that girl who's like, oh, what's that Greta girl? Like,
Oh God, yeah.
Jesus.
How dare you?
Of course, 20 years ago. Of course, 20 years ago, we didn't have these guys either, right?
No.
Oh, okay, they do realize they're the bad guys, right? They do realize, like I was. Have you
They're
seen
a bunch of
the picture of them yelling at this old lady literally crossing the street?
Yes. And they
It's
beat up an old man and left him bleeding in the middle of the sidewalk.
they
Yeah, they
beat
do
up
this
old
stuff all the
people and
time.
children.
This is the new paramilitary wing of the far left. I don't want to say the entire Democratic Party because I do think there are some Democrats out there that are worth something. But this is where the Ku Klux Klan in the 19th and 20th centuries were the paramilitary wing of the Democratic Party. This is the new paramilitary wing. People don't put that connection
They
together.
always wear masks, don't they?
They always
Well,
do.
they're riding around on buses with George Soros money, and
Well,
they go disrupt political organizations.
And they took the alt right, the white nationalists and those guys, and they said, "No, you guys are Republicans now. You've always been Republicans." No, they were
Yeah,
Democrats.
that's what I thought. I was like, wait, what?
1926 Democratic National Convention. They had representatives from the Ku Klux Klan marching with them. 1926, I believe it was.
Well, it's just like there's tapes with Lyndon B. Johnson saying the N-word over and over and over again and talking about how they're too dumb to realize what's going on.
Lyndon
and then
B.
he goes
Johnson,
out.
What Ocasio-Cortez talks about making a new civil rights bill. Yeah, she told the new bill, and she talks about the civil rights bill. But the one thing that these idiots don't understand is they don't know their fucking history. Lyndon B. Johnson,
reactionaries.
Right, Lyndon B. Johnson was the head of the Senate. The Senate Minority Leader, I think it's Majority Leader at that time, and fought the Civil Rights Bill 3 times. The third time, they could not block it any longer, and that's when they folded and let it go through. And yet, to this day, the Democrats will go, "Oh, but we did that." No, y'all fought that for 3 different terms before you finally gave in because you didn't have the votes to block it for a 3rd time. Like, look. And I'm not, and I know somebody, if a person listens to me, they'll be like, "Okay, that guy's dead on Republican." I am not, never have been. I'm a student of history. And when I hear bullshit, I'm going to call you on your bullshit. Okay. The Democratic Party split this country in half to fight to own people and keep them as slaves and abuse them. They voted against
people think that the Republicans were like
15th, right. They voted against the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. They voted against the 14th and 15th Amendments in solidarity. Not one Democrat voted for either one of those. They also voted against the Dred Scott. In the Dred Scott decision, they had control over the Supreme Court. The Dred Scott decision, for any of you who do not know, is when a slave made his way to the North and sued the government to state that he was not property, he was a citizen. The Supreme Court at that time, which was a majority Democrat, said, no, your property. You need to go back and you go back to your master. All right. The Democratic Party, they fought against women's suffrage. They fought against equal rights. They fought against the Civil Rights Bill. It was after the Civil Rights Bill that they reinvented their party, and then all of a sudden they weren't cool with the if you go into movies like The Toy with oh God, what's his name? Black actor, Richard Pryor. If you go back and look at The Toy with Richard Pryor, right? He's working for a wealthy Democrat, and that wealthy Democrat is throwing a party or something for some kind of political run or somebody, and it's a bunch of Ku Klux Klan people. Because up until that time, that was the reality. This is Hollywood speaking. That was the reality. That party supported racism. They supported the KKK. So this whole new idea that they're somehow the champions of minorities is completely twisted. It is completely wrong. It is not the fucking truth of it. I don't care if Barack Obama was half black, half white. I don't. No. This is a party that has historically suppressed women. That party is systemic patriarchy, systemic racism.
They currently kind of are, but it's just not as visual.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing with with women with the Democrats, you get the Women's March and stuff, and that's for reproductive rights, quote unquote, which is just abortion. But they don't want if you're half the women population that are against abortion, then you don't count. You're part of the patriarchy. You're Stockholm syndrome or whatever warp shit they make up to get around. Acknowledging those women, like Mark Hamill, tie back to Star Wars. I remember months ago, Mark Hamill's like, "Oh, it's time for a woman to be president or to lead, women to lead," some shit like that. And it was like reproductive rights shit was going on. It was right around the time they were trying to threaten to pull out, Hollywood from Georgia because there's a lot of incentive to.
Oh yeah, because a lot of people film there.
Yeah, and Netflix is heavily invested in Georgia. It's where they film Ozark, and I said
good?
Oh, I binged it in 2 days. I binged 20 hours.
My
in
husband looks just
36
like
hours.
Jason Bateman. It's creepy. Like they look the same.
I would
Like-
bang your husband.
Ah, damn it! You
What?
beat me to it, brother. Well, we can.
I'll make sure he knows that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give him my number.
Okay.
Nuts, because what we're seeing is that millions of mentally ill people suddenly feel like it's okay to claim like special disabled status. And there are legitimately disabled people who need assistance. I get that. But when it gets to the point where like pedophiles are trying to add themselves to the LGBTQ plus,
Are you kidding?
No.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah,
don't know about that? That's a real thing.
No,
Yeah.
poor Amy's got to get caught up. We got to catch her up.
Oh wow, we're gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna just shock her, and she's not gonna leave the house for
A little bit at a time, guys.
Scanner. It's gonna be like Scanner.
Yeah.
Upload.
Well, and
Well,
we don't have to.
I
We don't
still
really have
haven't
to
seen
dwell on the. It's just one of those things where these people are out there like trying to use their emotional intensity to try to get us to censor ourselves, which is completely against the Bill of Rights to begin with.
And they use it to like where they're like, you're not a good person if you don't do this. So I mean, it is like, it's the opposite of freedom. It's suppressed. It is oppression.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But Amy,
Well, I think
Here's
So,
the perfect demonstration of it. Just throw that one on.
I think we've exhausted the political stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want
Are you sure?
Yeah. I don't want people to come
Okay.
here and be
Well,
like,
you know,
"Oh,
you can
God."
talk about it forever, but
Yeah. Like Mr. Pete's got it. You know, he put up the alphabet for LGBT. Let me see what's Mike showing.
oh wait, did you see the
Here's what all that
Dave
political
Chappelle thing?
Here's
Oh,
what all
yeah.
that technobabble works out to in practical terms. In practical terms, it turns into social issues, is what we all deal with, not the political side that we don't like
Are
to
you
talk about
serious?
because that's the mundane, but it actually translates into practical terms out in the street. And this is what it looks like. Idiocy, and I think Coyle was saying mental illness. I think there it is right
If people can't read this, so they're listening and not looking at the screen. This says, "At white trans people, being trans doesn't absolve you of your privilege. Yes,
Oh
you
my
are
God.
marginalized. You're also still white."
Oh my god.
Did you realize nobody can help their genetics, right? Nobody.
well,
Yeah,
and
I
every
know.
trans-
That's the weirdest shit. Is like you can read, like the Southern Baptist Church and stuff. Like they were part of the whole. They're definitely tied with Southern Democrats and stuff, and their kind of dogma was blacks were I don't know, gorilla hybrids or some shit. There's
Mhm.
God, that's
And I-
horrible.
I get
Yeah.
like I don't like to smear the air because like a lot of people are going to buy this because science is limited and they have like a perception of the world and stuff, and it's like the Nazis did so well not just because there's like anger and sentiment and like stereotypes about Jews, but science validated their perception of Jews and Slavs as inferior. So it went hand in hand. Same with this perception that like Southern Baptists were an idea. But it seems to be a trend for hundreds of years now in that half of the politics in America, that this party always wants to meddle based on superficial things you can't help, and dehumanize you or something, or try to divvy up everyone. And like there's an article from like 2 years ago where it's like black men are the white people of black people. And so all about the march and stuff,
This
Martin
is
Luther
literally
King,
the most confusing thing ever.
but because the article was kind of going on about how like because there's so few good black men that are stable and build families, that when there is one, the women that want to keep them become very subservient and housewifely and stuff, and therefore that's oppression.
What a
And-
horrible thing. You mean
Yeah,
they
it's
choose
just like-
to? They choose to do that? That seems like their choice.
Yeah, and
some
this
women decide like they want to stay home and raise their kids. And
Yeah,
don't
you want to be around your
be
kids.
house
Oh
with me.
God, the horror. Well, sometimes, but
Hypocrisy. hypocrisy is the word, because that's a very paternalistic attitude to take towards women by other women, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yep.
I follow a channel. I can't think of her name. It's a black woman. She's married to a white dude. She does videos about their
Is
relationship.
it Candace
about
Owens?
social issues. Not Candace. Oh God, no! But I could make
She's
her my wifey in a heartbeat.
she's awesome.
Yeah.
She got married.
Oh yeah, God, I love Candace Owens. No, it's another lady, and she says that her relationship works, and she promotes like black women dating white men. She said because both of those types of people at this time are severely undervalued and treated like shit. So when you get a black woman who and a white man together, they feel their relationship is stronger because they are undervalued. They value each other more. So there's an opinion.
Yeah, all this to round it back to entertainment. I covered this really early on when I started on YouTube. I brought in the film history class I took to the game, and you see it, and this is why. When you talk to normies about like all this shit, and they're just like, it's just a space movie, dude. It's not that deep. Or like my stepdad, where he thought he likes to like
Holy
be
shit, it
dismissive.
ain't
They
deep.
think I'm an idiot because I'm like, hey, Zootopia is leftist Black Lives Matters garbage, propaganda for your kids. And because the whole movie is about they're profiling predators, and it's like, well, yeah, because predators are the ones that are committing like murder because they're hungry. Like this is intrinsic to them, and so it gets really muddled because you're trying to like parallel something where it's like, well, this is actually a reasonable fear. So but when you parallel that with like Black Lives Matter, it's like you're profiling black people or something. It's like, well, look at the crime rates. There's a reason demographics get profiled when it becomes a standard. Like these are the problem in this area, and it just gets so crazy. People don't realize this. Film, like modern film, it's really been around for a little over 100 years now.
Yeah.
What we know as film, and where people started actually putting plans together, they started editing and stuff, started doing effects and
Right,
setting.
silent movies about 100 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and Battleship Potemkin is an amazing movie. That movie is also engineered by a socialist, by a communist over in Russia at the first film school in Moscow. It was made by communists. And it was so effective. Like, if you watch this movie, you're going to, like, end up, you're like, wow, like, hurrah for the people. And then you realize, oh, it's like communist propaganda in entertainment.
Yeah.
And it really tricks you. You fall for like they really guide you for the to fall for these people, like to root for them, and I think reasonably so. It was so effective, and it resonated so much that the Nazis saw all their stuff and are like, "Hey, study the Russians. That's how we're going to make our propaganda." So when people look at you stupid, if you're too intense about the YouTube conversations and what we're saying about film and stuff, like, "Oh, this is woke and that," and they don't get it, like figure out a way to take baby steps to kind of educate them on like this whole origin of like entertainment can be propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most easily accessible.
Without you even knowing.
Yeah. Like,
Oh yeah.
I like Happy Feet. I grew up with that movie, but it's got some leftist, PETA type of propaganda about fishing, where it's like, stop the fishing, you're killing the penguins, they're trying to guilt you. And that's going to resonate with little kids, and they get older. Maybe that was the core kind of epicenter of what made them leftist, vegan, PETA, throwing paint on people, wackos. And,
Sorry.
this is how it starts. This is how you can
Do people
indoctrinate.
still throw paint on people? It felt like that
No,
for a while.
just that's the thing that they're known for back then. But
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah,
Like,
now it's P.
red
now
gaze.
it's what?
Now it's P, or
Yeah, that's
a
true.
quick cement chemicals.
That's messed up.
Or
Oh,
acid.
the milkshakes. Yeah, the milkshakes.
Or
But
acid.
Gross.
Red Gaze covered this. They got these like little girl, like 8 and under, like communist Girl Scout fucking videos and shit, like sing along and like fuck Trump, you ain't grabbing my pussy and shit. And it's like, what? Like, why do
Damn, what?
kids don't even need to know this? This
Right.
Yeah,
you
no.
That's that indoctrination thing. They're trying to control perceptions
No
from the
joke.
youngest possible age. You know, and
Well,
it's the same thing. Like everybody saw Aladdin and they've seen that scene where the dude's dick is jingling around. Everybody's seen the Little Mermaid. There's a fucking dick on the
Yeah.
castle. You know,
No,
so
but also like didn't the Reverend or something in it have like on the
It was
boat when they were
supposedly
getting married?
supposedly it's his knee because he's like a little midget.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's a hell of a
I
name.
actually made a video where
Hell of
Mickey
a
Mouse is making
name.
Swiss cheese with his Johnson. You know, it's on a conveyor belt. It's,
What the fuck?
yeah. Check it out. It's crazy.
That is
I
hilarious.
need subs
Do
too,
you have,
Mr. P.
do you have footage of this Immortal? I'm kind of interested.
Yeah, it's I think it's in my Obi-Wan video a couple videos back.
All right, Steven, this is what's gonna really just get you going. It's gonna make you really happy. Let me turn on my camera for everybody. So, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. You like that?
Oh, dang. What is that?
God.
What are you doing with that?
I got this at a thrift shop, and I'm registered Cherokee in Oklahoma
Okay.
and stuff. And of course, Whitey tries to tell me I can't have this symbology, so I say fuck you, and I get it, because it's like, I saw them like Redskins, but I'm like, well, they got a good look. I never really hated the Redskins. They're a rival, of course, but I've never hated them. Maybe I should or something. But it's something. It's like Joe Camel. I love collecting camel stuff too because the government said you can't have it, and so it just makes me covet it more.
Wait, you said they're your
Joe
rivals,
Cool.
like
Yeah.
Are you-
Philly's my number one. My Philly beanie is out in the car. So this
a
happened
Cowboys
to be
fan over here.
Yeah, I thought I saw something about you being from Texas. And
Yeah.
I've always been from the school of thought. Well, actually, my best friend's a Cowboys fan, so we've been fighting for 20 years. But he kind of, through that friendship, it got to a point where if the Eagles don't make the playoffs, man, I'm rooting for NFC East. Root for the.
Nah, fuck the other teams when it comes to playoffs. But yeah,
I know
if
it's hard.
you can't tell, like I'm a diehard Philly fan. Like my wall. You might just think, oh, it's a wall. Like, no. When we were moving in, the landlord's like, hey, what do you want the office to be? I'm like, Philly green. And yeah. And so then, I've had this, it's hard to tell because of the lamp, but I got this Philly blanket of
Yeah, that's beautiful. That is beautiful.
12
sir.
years or so.
My dick is hard right now. That's
I love it, brother.
Oh.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Penis jokes.
Oh yeah, Mr. P, you're a Giants fan, ain't you? Well, sorry for you.
My son's a Giants fan. I watch Giants games. I keep up on them because of that.
Oh, this is another thing. This goes very way back to Age of Ultron on my birthday. My wife got me this afterwards because Ultron started a tradition of sneaking liquor into the theater. So then she got me this to make it, instead of having like 5
Good
shot
times.
glasses.
Good times.
Yeah. So yeah, when I saw Venom, I had to rewatch it from the library because I'm like, I think I liked it. I think it was good enough. But I was, it was like 11 a.m. and I was kind of hammered. So let me just go back and watch it sober. And I know it paid off. But, it's a good movie. But yeah, sometimes, oh my God, man, I wish my wife was here to tell you all the story when I got, I had 2 doses. I like pre-games in the car. And then I had my dose in Force Awakens. And I already saw it 3 times. And it's a month in, but a lot of people still haven't seen it. And so I'm like this jackass, just shaking the fuck out of my popcorn. I'm putting the shaker of.
You are the person I would hate in a movie.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm really a quiet guy in the theater, but yeah, when I'm drunk, I'm just hey, whatever, man. I'm a wacky guy.
Wait, you're saying as a drunk person you're loud and annoying? What?
Well, I don't know if you knew this, Angus. I'm a Wolverine fan.
No.
I went and saw. Yeah, I know, right? Shocking. I went and saw Logan in the theater 5 times.
I have never seen it, but I really want to.
Logan is so
Better,
good.
So
good.
I own
you gotta
it.
prepare yourself to cry. That's all I'm saying. I'm
I
a
know
grown
what
man.
happens. Obviously, Deadpool kind of spoiled it.
But no. I got kind of like you did, Angus. I got in this tradition of sneaking in libations, and I invented this thing called the Logan drinking game. So basically, if you're taking shots every time Logan drinks, whether it's a beer, whether it's whiskey, you drink with him. And by the time like he's done drinking in the movie, you are sloshed.
Wait, what was the thing that keyed you off to drink every time with Logan?
Ghostbusters.
Well,
2016.
because he's drinking constantly through that movie. This guy's so old and so fucked up, and like everybody who he loves dies.
You know
All
they
he
had to
can do
use
is drink.
CGI for the
Numbness.
old age stuff.
Yes, they did. Very
Because like Hugh
brilliantly.
Jackman's just that good looking.
they
Just
they
like-
had to go out of their way to fuck up his face. Yeah.
So they actually used like CGI for it.
But it was one of those
And
movies. The
And that's
first
the
time I
man I love
saw
so
it, yeah, the first time I saw it, I was actually like saying out loud how I would answer as Wolverine, and he said the same goddamn thing. I cried openly in that movie. It's so great. Watch it, please, Amy. If
Yeah,
Dude.
I will.
tonight
And
is
Hugh
interesting
Jackman-
too.
I also haven't seen The Last Jedi.
That's a good
I
thing.
don't
That's a
know
good
what to
thing.
do.
That's a
Everyone's
good
like,
thing.
it's a good thing, but I'm like, well, I read the plot. I read everything on it, so I know what happens. Like, I don't
Go to-
really want to watch that
Amy,
now.
Go to BitChute and watch Ivan Ortega's film fix of The Last Jedi. If you're going to watch any version, watch that one.
Okay.
Because he does his best to make it palatable. That was the second time I watched The Last Jedi, and that was only because Ivan Ortega did it.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, because you can read it, and you might hear people talk about it and this and that, how it's fucked things up, etc. But not having witnessed it, that like there's an element that is missing in your
Yeah.
brain.
I know.
I don't know if it's good or not, because it's good like you haven't been like scarred visually by it. But it's like, well, you're not. It's like, the
I know,
Christians
I'm
were really
contemplating,
freaking out
like-
about Da Vinci Code, and there was this argument of
Good
like, well, we should read it so we know what we're talking about versus, well, it's
yeah,
heresy.
that's why I'm like,
you
I
know.
can't say, like, I can say from like the story of having read the plot, that sounds terrible, and I don't know what visually you can do to make that better. But
But well, the reason I'm kind of walking through this is I was actually thinking about this today. I had no idea I'd come across someone in the Fandom Menace that hadn't seen this movie, or seen clips or whatever, And so I was wondering, like, because a lot of people are just down on the Rise of Skywalker, like just new TV spot, etc. And besides Poe Dameron, who I just fucking hate, because I don't get how you like
me
people.
too. I wanted to like him, but I can't.
People tout this guy like, oh, Poe Dameron. I'm like, he's just a dude, like fucking.
I like Oscar Isaac.
Yeah,
I like
he's
him.
great.
I loved him in Ex Machina. Sorry.
Yeah, Ex Machina,
I love
Most
that
Violent
dance
Year.
scene.
Yeah, the dance scene is amazing. I
Oh,
tell people,
I love that part.
Yes. But anyway, I see these trailer spots and stuff, and I know it's like this is the end of this trilogy and the saga, and how it's gone on with this middle film and the culture at Lucasfilm. I get all of this, where it's like, a lot of people just have written it off.
Well,
But I see these
I wrote it
trailers-
off during the first one. Like I could see what was happening right then. They wasted the opportunity to have them at least like reunite. Like what the
Right.
hell?
Right.
And
Well-
then also I'm sorry, as a girl, like, I'm like, wow, I love seeing a woman be perfect. It makes me feel so good and perfect. Oh wait, no, it doesn't.
Right.
No, I don't want to watch someone be awesome at everything. I want to see her fail. And I will. That way, she's relatable. She's not. She's untouchable.
Well, see, the thing I'm wondering is, like, with your somewhat fresh perspective of not having witnessed the Last Jedi, having like endured the 2.5 hours of what it is and stuff.
2.5 hours
Like-
long.
Like, how do you come seeing these Rise of Skywalker trailers? Because like
They
I see it,
look
I'm like,
terrible.
well, there's some cool looking stuff here.
You're not
like,
excited for the
I mean,
Space
they look-
Forces, Amy?
Visually, they're pretty. Yeah, I saw the deep fake of George Lucas watching,
That was excellent.
like where
Yeah.
he makes the comment about the horses. Oh God, the horses we had to save. Like, I don't know.
He's got George Lucas's laugh down.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I love it when they did like the round table and Robert Downey Jr.'s like, like I saw stars and I peed my pants. So like, thank you, George. Yeah, Star Wars. Like, that's what it is. It's a diuretic.
Do you want to know what I thought, Angus? Do you want to know what I thought, Angus? I thought, oh yeah.
Oh God!
What's Kylo holding there? Kylo Ben?
Dude, he's pulling a
I
Michael
am
Jackson.
so tingly in the pants. We've got only weeks left. Oh, I'm so excited.
He's grabbing his junk.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to learn.
Angus is watching.
He's multitasking.
No, I see this. I see the picture.
Very phallic representation.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, because I'm in war campaign and we love digital dildos. So I actually found some like neon dildos and put them on the lightsabers, and people I've never seen before. They seem to like it. So there's people all over the place that you never see in these Fandom Menace Twitter that are just down or like fuck this, like. I'm open. Like I expect there to be continuation of Last Jedi. They're not just going to retcon it or completely. Or there's going to be some workaround, but
they couldn't just make it all a dream.
We're just all going to feel like this one, Angus. You'll see. We're just all going to feel like this. You'll see.
All right. So, as our liaison to the war campaign, Angus,
who's
what
the
is
person next to
war
Luke? That's like
campaigns-
the best representation.
it's George.
That was one
the other guy.
Phasma. Captain Phasma's passed out next to Luke.
I met her actually.
You think
Gwendolyn
Gwendolyn
Christie?
She's tall.
Yeah, I heard she just seems like an awesome person.
She's nice. She's very nice.
Brianna Tarr,
She's super talented. Too bad we didn't get
Sir
any in Star Wars.
Sir Brianna.
Yeah, that was
such
such a waste. Oh, yes, it was
I
such a waste, man. Look, you know what? And I was ready when they announced her, and that it was just after they'd had that one scene in Game of Thrones where she fought the Hound.
Yeah,
One of the best battle scenes I
Whipped
ever
its
seen.
ass.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, it's so
And I wanted
good.
to bring something up since Angus and I finally get a chance to talk again, and this just came up, so I can think of it again. Can you explain to me, Angus, why that apparent squadron commander is marching around that Starkiller base with her weapon at the high port without any kind of escort or anything? I thought she was a commander. Like, what's going on here? She just marches around for no reason with her weapon at the high port. I mean, holy crap! It must be a PT day when they show up. I think, eh?
Oh yeah, I never really thought that. Yeah, it's always awkward. She just comes in with like her gun ready, and it's like, what do you like? You're the
comfortable.
person. It's
You're
weird
at the
because
garrison. You're at the garrison. Why are you in combat dress? What is going on?
well, it's weird because like
She's
they
just at the
introduced
ready,
her. They introduced her in 7, and Kylo's like, yeah, take care of this. And then they're already there, and she's just like, hey, guys that were doing what Kylo said, do what Kylo said. And it's just like, that was Kathleen's character. Watch the special features to episode 7. That's her character. She's like, yeah, let's.
Why is that woman in charge?
What is she in charge of? She's just.
No, I said, why is she?
Why is she in charge? She's in charge
Kathleen.
because Kennedy, we're talking about Kennedy, right? Yeah. Well,
Kathleen
I think I can explain this really quick. There was a leak that came out that gave me a lot of insight into this. Or not a leak, excuse me. There was a statement that she had made while talking to Rolling Stone. She was asked a question by the reporter. The reporter, or the God, hold on. I'm so pissed about Kathleen Kennedy. Okay. The interviewer asked her, was making each film, was that a tough nut to crack? And she said back, yes, each one's a tough nut to crack because we don't have any stories or comics to work from, and it's up to our creators to work with it. Now, that is such a vapidly ignorant statement.
Are you aware that there's like 6 movies prior? Like,
well, not only that, but there's an entire
extended universe, yes.
That they threw out in 2014 that had many different stories beloved by millions of Star Wars fans. They threw out so that they didn't have to pay those creators any money at all for any of the things that they would use.
That's why they did it?
That's why they did it. Because we had an ideologue in charge, a third wave feminist ideologue, who wanted to hire other ideologues who would reflect her echo chamber and create something entirely new so they could create this propaganda called Star Wars, Disney Star Wars, the sequel trilogy. Now, this statement shows me this, ideology aside, that this woman worked with Steven Spielberg, worked with Lucasfilm, George Lucas for over a decade, for 20 years, over 20 years with these people, and did not understand the stories or the franchises she was working with. I'm not saying that this bitch just ran for coffee all the time. I make that joke a lot, but that's okay. This is what I'm saying. She was stuck in an office somewhere, schmoozing, making everybody think that she was their friend, biding her fucking time without understanding any of these franchises at all, so that she could
Literally, that's your job.
Right, where she took over for George Lucas, lied straight to his face, and at that time, 30 years later, 30 fucking years later, still had no idea what Star Wars is, to the point where she actually stated we didn't have any other material or comic books to draw from.
She's insane.
Okay, this is something I can not defend necessarily, but I'm like maybe writing the story for lack of a better term. I can kind of see what she's saying because they clean slated, the EU and stuff.
They should have just done a sequel trilogy without or just a trilogy apart from everything that was already created. I don't see why they needed to connect it.
You can clean slate it, but then you take the material that worked, you take those themes that people loved, and you integrate it into what you're doing.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing for me. I'm a prequel kid, and besides Darth Maul and Rebels, and letting her on how the story team say, he's fits in this timeline. Letting Ron Howard use him in Solo briefly for maybe a tease for a future in the trilogy. They haven't serviced me. The prequel fan, they haven't serviced me at all. They've started to with they're trying to. They realize the high schoolers and middle schoolers that grew up with Clone Wars are now adults who have
How old
money.
Are you?
I'm 25. 27.
I'm 34. So, but I was in high school when they were out. Yeah.
Yeah, and they realize the prequel people have money. It's not just OT people, and so it's really fucking annoying for me from the get go. Kind of understanding the divide with the prequels right from the get go. But there's nothing that screams to me what got me into Star Wars, But I deal with it. So in a way, I'm I don't give a fuck about the EU argument in the sense of. Yeah, they're cherry picking.
I watched the originals before the prequels, though.
Yeah,
so, because they re-released them in the 90s, and so.
Yeah, well, the thing with the EU is that they're cherry picking stuff like Thrawn and all these little threads, and this Palpatine thing is just Dark Empire to some extent. All this stuff, it's they're cherry picking, but they're still acknowledging you. They're still, you're getting at least a hint of what you loved already. May not be how you want it. May not be delivered that way you like, but you're getting it. I have not gotten anything that is acknowledging my fandom. So it's just hey, sucks for you, but sucks worse for me. From what I see.
Well, Revenge of the Sith is my favorite. Well, Obi-Wan's my favorite character. So
Revenge of the Sith is my favorite too. Grew up on the original trilogy. Love the prequels. I will grab my shaft and teabag my balls into Kathleen Kennedy's mouth. All right, because I wanted Jason and Jaina. Okay, I wanted Anakin. I wanted a little Anakin. I wanted Ben Skywalker. I wanted characters that were well developed, that were created in that universe. Characters that we could have cared about. Characters that were actually Skywalkers. That would have been fucking awesome for the Skywalker saga. So actually, taking characters and just teasing us with them, like the clone of Palpatine and all this crap. Okay, now that's an affront. I take that as an insult. I take that as too little, way too fucking late. So I don't know if it's easier to be just forgotten or to be told to go fuck myself.
Yeah, no, I get that. I actually understand. I'm not being facetious.
I know.
Screw you, fans. You had your time. Yeah, no, I'm not one of those people who's your time's done, white males. It's not like that. It's just hey, whatever bitching you can say, we're they're taking my story and meddling with it. And it's well, they're just ignoring mine completely. I don't exist for some fucking reason, even though I'm perfect age to pay for merchandise and stuff. And I'm, some of us my age range are having kids or already had kids, so we're perfect age, especially the Baby Yoda, to start indoctrinating our kids to throw our money at Disney.
You don't think Baby Yoda's cute?
I fucking dude. I got Baby Yoda on my emblem. Like I
Baby
love
Yoda's-
Baby.
That's the cutest
You
thing
saw
they've done.
my kid's reaction, right? Like that's such a great. I haven't had that,
That was a
awesome
great video.
moment since when I was collecting like the 30th anniversary toy line. It's probably the best moment. And then the midnight opening on Fort Drum with 501st letting us in for episode 7. Those are like probably the two coolest moments being a Star Wars fan, where it's like, well, I guess episode 3 release when I was a kid for my birthday, and then like collecting, finding some pieces in like 2011, and then the opening for 7, and then Last Jedi, and it's just been downhill, and then Baby Yoda, and I like show my kids, and it's like I didn't know how the reaction would be. And it's like, oh look, there's a baby. Like no, they were so enthralled with Baby Yoda for episode 1, and it's like, oh yes, the love is back, which it already was kind of here for me, because I was like seeing these trailers, and I'm like, wow, I haven't speculated about Star Wars for like 2 years now. This is exciting. Putting pieces together. I'm way overthinking what Disney's going to give us, but this is fun.
Real quick, I want to say, hail Kermit the Frog, Curtis. I need some death sticks if I'm going to see 9.
Hail Kermit the Logs. I saw Bear back there, so hail Bear.
Hail Bear.
Yeah. Fellow fourth waiver.
Hail everybody in the chat. Love you guys. Thanks for showing up.
Sorry,
Thank you.
I keep thinking I'm going to clear up this cough and come.
We have a girl.
We've got a girl. Look.
We got a girl.
We found a unicorn under chaos.
Unicorn. Oh, can I like the one that stabs you?
One. Here's the thing, too, Amy. I can't barely find 2 Doctor Who fans to rub pennies together. So I'm very happy that you're
you
on
said that.
that.
I'm literally wearing a Doctor Who shirt right now.
Oh fuck yeah! I jumped on Doctor Who back when Doctor 10, like he's my doctor, right?
I've met him, but I also love the 11 too. They're both great.
Well, every girl loves 11. Come on.
Yeah.
But then
he's nice too. I've met both.
He is nice.
Oh, I thought you meant Stranger Things. Sorry.
No, Doctor Who. But there's also that parallel. Okay, so we don't get to explore a lot of this in Doctor Who, where he regenerated into the female Doctor, and then there was that weird season, and then they're going to get rid of her and go back to another guy.
Did you
watch the? Yeah, did you watch the season with the woman?
No.
No, I don't think any.
He said no.
I got partway.
Sorry.
Yeah, I got partway through Peter Capaldi, and I was like, okay, that's
I'm
cool.
still working on that, but I'm still upset about like the pawns. I can't.
Yeah.
They could have. Okay, I'm not a Whovian, all right, so I'm speaking completely out of turn here, but they could have done a female doctor if it wasn't identity politics, maybe.
I feel like they could have used like an existing character. Like why they?
Right.
I don't know.
Well, there was. So you mentioned Dr. 10. There was a show where he had a daughter. Like she regenerated out of him, and then she took off into the storm.
The doctor's daughter. That's actually David Tennant's wife.
Isn't that weird? And she is the daughter of.
It's not creepy at all.
Yeah, from back. Yeah, so they're all. So, but that's just a show. There's a culture there, and it's the same kind of disservice to that fan base to make it all like.
They've done it to like every franchise. Seriously.
The big thing that I saw was that Doctor Who has this thing where they did a Christmas episode every year. And then this season with the female Doctor, they decided not to do that because ostensibly we don't want to offend non-Christians. So they did a New Year's episode instead. Yeah, so it's just subtle things like that where they're like infiltrating established culture to put forth their sanitized visions of what we should be appreciating. And to kind of tie this all together, the fact that you, Stephen, were aware of all these social things going into this project, that's actually what sold your book to me. I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. He watches things, he thinks about things, and he's not just going like, well, I fucking hate this Star Wars.
I appreciate that, Immortal. That's one of the criticisms, some of the haters out there. Oh, I love this one. This one person really put some work into it. He put together 5 books that had over like the Phantom Menace volumes 1 through 5, and it says like, I'm still mad about a girl.
Wrote books about it?
Well, actually, yes. Actually, there are 2 books out there on Amazon called The Fandom Menace and The Fandom Menace Something. They are written by somebody that was done the very first year, like the very first 6 months the Fandom Menace came out, and it is full on access media propaganda, full on. And if you, I implore anyone to go to Amazon and look these books up and
Wait,
just
like
read the
bashing it or
description.
what?
Bashing it. Oh yeah, totally bashing us. And
So
I implore you
random.
to read the description, guys. This dude didn't know how to capitalize a damn thing or
You
use a
should bring that
punctuation.
up, Angus. Yeah,
Uh,
It is awful.
I want to
So
read that.
right. So before I started writing the books, I said, well, let me see if anybody else has done this. Because if anybody else has done this, then I'll either work with them or see what they did. And then
Yeah.
I found this guy's work. I can't remember his name, but yeah, he's 2 books on the Fandom Menace. And then I just read the description of the book, and I'm like, okay, missing a capital, missing a capital, missing a punctuation, missing punctuation, spelled that
You
wrong.
like underline it in like.
Oh, and I was just like, okay, this instead of if this is my Lex Luthor, I'm gonna look so good. if this is the guy that I have to, that this is my arch enemy, in the literary
You're Lex
world.
Luthor. God.
Yeah, like I am set. I was like, this guy's an idiot. He's like, he's like Captain Boomerang. He's like nobody wants to watch
Who's
him.
that?
Captain Boomerang is a Australian bad guy of the Flash. He was actually in the Suicide Squad movie, and the guy who played him actually made Captain Boomerang kind of cool. So I'm a fan of the Suicide Squad movie. For some reason, I like bad movies. But
I like bad movies when they're so bad they're good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that and I like.
I gotta say, Justice League. It's long and it's bad. It
is
lives
long.
up. It
And
lives
it's
up
bad.
to its promise. I like the first 8 minutes. That first 8 minutes where it was like just the song and like then it was like Vampire Fairy and I was like, oh, here we go. Yeah, I was like, this is okay. There it is.
Well, I was a
I was
fan.
like, this isn't that bad. Oh, there it is. Okay.
I was a fan of the Arrowverse going in, so seeing someone else play the Flash and not
Yeah, it pissed me
incorporating
off.
the Green Arrow, not taking those characters from the Arrowverse and incorporating them in the Justice League pissed me off.
Did you ever watch Smallville? Or any of
Yeah,
that?
I love Smallville.
I love Smallville.
I love
So
Smallville.
the Green Arrow, when it wasn't like, God, I just blinked on his name.
Yeah, I grew up on Lois and Clark. I like that series.
Yeah, I did. My parents watched that. Yeah.
Hell, Snowdub.
Like, yeah. So, but I'm a fan of the Arrowverse too, and though Supergirl's kind of super woke.
I wanted to like Supergirl because
it was good at first, and then it just went.
Yeah, I think she had there was potential there. There was potential to it, and I like the introduction of a lot of the characters, Metallo and several other characters. I like having Martian Manhunter, but yeah, it went woke. It went full
super
hard,
like an overnight. Like it was like.
Yeah.
Wait, did you say woke tard?
Yeah.
I love it. Love it. I saw that on a video recently where they're showing some art. It might have been Mr. Reagan. I don't know. If y'all haven't, find the channel Mr. Reagan. We should all take lessons from this guy because he's just got a really clean, crisp style. He's very, very well spoken in a long session, like to the camera. Very minimal, if any, editing. He's just really fluid. But also his delivery, like he's mainly a political channel talking about these pop culture woke shit like the Gillette stuff and all that.
That sounds like something I would like to watch, though. I watch a lot of that stuff.
He just did a or it came up in my algorithm to say the least, Last Jedi. And I was like, oh my God, it's not quite the same, but I have a video I've been tweaking since fucking February called Why SJWs Love The Last Jedi. It's going to talk about all this political stuff of why they can argue this is totally in sync with the characters and this makes total sense and yada yada. Which I could argue some of those things, like him contemplating killing Kylo. That can make sense narratively in the context of the saga. You just got to give it space and progress to that point. That's the main thing. But there's like a very nuanced, subtle political ideology behind that stuff, and he really just tears it all apart quite well and seamlessly.
Yeah.
So yeah, go check out Mr. Reagan. I actually want to get him on a stream. He actually replied to me. I know he's a busy guy, got a lot of subs and followers and all this, but you might see a Mr. Reagan Black Angus stream.
That'd be cool.
Call me in.
Yeah.
I want
So
in on that.
You got to give it space, like to allow the cognitive dissonance to set in.
The cognitive dissonance, that's that's the Trump derangement syndrome, right? Like that's the trying to fit with the narrative and it just does not compute at all. Oh man.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I
Horses
get
have
it,
the
but
default
I'm
blinders.
man.
So Stephen, well, actually, before I ask you, Mike's been a little quiet. I want to ask him this. Mike, how did you get involved with this project? So, like, I knew you before. At the time, I didn't know why you kind of fell off the face of the earth, and then, like, when you started coming back, I knew you were talking with Steven. I don't know how any of that came up, and then all of a sudden he was like, "Dude, look at this thing." He's like, "Got this plan and layout. Like, holy shit, he's gonna like, help me fine tune this." And it was exciting, but I still didn't know. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, like because I just knew you as the Bleeding Full guy.
Yeah.
Hadn't had much interaction yet to kind of gauge you or something. So I didn't really have an idea how to like address it with Steven. Like, yeah, it's A-okay, or yeah, he's gonna flake, or I had nothing to really tell him. It's like that layout looks cool. That's all I had.
Well, the thing is that was just when you guys had just put together the Fandom Collective, and that's when all of that was just starting to first come about. And so you remember Flipped Out, obviously, one of our prominent community members. He gave me a buzz and said that he knew that he asked me if I remember the guy that was going to do the Fandom Menace project, and of course, everybody in the community remembers the shout out that Stephen had put out, asking for contributions and for people to perhaps collaborate. And of course, the community was quite a buzz, as I remember. And everybody and their dog, I think, sent in various types of submissions. And so, as you were saying, like as we progressed into the fall in late November last year, I had like real life busyness. And so I was offline for quite some time. And when I came back a little bit in January, Chris said, that guy that was doing that project, you remember? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, he thinks he might have taken on too much and he doesn't have anybody to help him. And it's a really big project and he wants it to reflect well on the community. Do you think you can give him a call? And I told Chris, I said, well, I would love to, obviously, but right now the state of affairs. And so when I finally got everything stabilized, I think towards the end of April, May, and I kind of got back to work at Bleeding Fool and everything kind of, back to normal-ish and get caught up on the news, I sent him a message and I said, Chris told me to give you a buzz. And he said, well, I've never worked with anyone before, let alone anybody to edit my things. And so, what do I do? And I said, well, just send me one of your chapters and I'll work on it, tonight, and I'll send it to you tomorrow and just tell me what you think. Obviously you're the one to know, it's your work, right? And so I waited till the next day and I waited and waited and waited and waited. And I thought, it only takes an average human like 20 minutes to read 10,000 words. What's going on here? And by 2:00 in the afternoon, I got an email and it began with, I don't know what to say. And I thought, oh, fuck, here we go. And it basically went on with some flattering things for me, which I hadn't heard before. And I, thanks Stephen for that, of course. But basically what he told me was, I don't know how you took what it took me a couple of months to, cram together and compile and try to get the look right. And you just took that overnight and presented it to me like this. And it is the spirit of what I wanted to convey, but these are not my words. And I wouldn't feel comfortable if you didn't come and join me to help me write this. And I said, well, wow, first of all, and, give me a couple of days to think about it. Cause, real life troubles were still having an effect. And I didn't know if I wanted to make such a commitment to somebody, if I wasn't able to, complete it. And so I took a couple of days and I thought about it. And, of course, the rest is now history. And so that's kind of serendipitous is how it came together.
Anything to add, Stephen?
Yes, I think that even without ever meeting Mike, that I think he's a good kisser.
You've never met?
Wow.
No,
yeah, Mike's in
He has
Canada.
the right gain and bass level on his mic.
Yeah, just like the voice, the way that he moves his lips.
Give it to you in French if you want.
Yeah, buddy. No, Mike basically took everything that I had. When I was reading over, when I read over the work that we've done together, I see sometimes entire paragraphs that are me, that are like, okay, that was, he left that alone because I guess he thought that was perfectly said the way that it was. And then I will see parts of it that were the spirit of what I had written, but reassembled in a different manner, a more clean manner. And so when I began working with Mike, I remember I was still writing at the time, and Mike goes, "Steve, stop writing." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because we have too much already, and we still have like more to go because there's still current events that are happening and so forth." Um, and I thought that was a hell of a compliment. Um, Everything that he's done in the book has complemented everything that I've worked for. And like I said, I never worked with an editor or a co-author before, um, so it was very it was nervous at first. It was kind of a little nerve-wracking, but once we began to really talk to each other, get online, get on video chats, just completely collaborate in depth on what was going on, I came to found that Mike is probably one of the best partners that I could have picked. He thinks of things while I'm thinking of them, like when we don't even speak. He already has my next question or my next avenue set up. Okay, this is where we're going to go with this.
You know what
And
this sounds like? Sounds like Radar O'Reilly.
yeah, he's like my Radar O'Reilly. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And so it's just been. I work a lot. I'm a single father. And so I'm the breadwinner, and I have to maintain my.
Any you single fellows in the chat getting Steven's DMs.
And so I have a lot on my plate. Without getting into too much detail, my son's mother. I basically got my son because his mother fell apart in a very bad way that caused trauma to him. So I've had to basically rebuild my son's emotional center over the last few years. I had to take on being a full-time dad, and I had to also take on being a full-time father, a single father that has to make up for the fallacies that the mother is going through. Now, I wish her all the best, and I don't hate her, and it's not that kind of a relationship or friendship. But she's got a lot of troubling things to work through, and it's very difficult on my son. So a lot of my concentration goes to that, goes to his schooling, goes to preparing, a future for him. So while I'm invested in that and a lot of other things, it was very easy to have, not easy. It was much easier to work on this project with someone who could anticipate my needs before I even realized that I needed them.
And I just want to add to that, thank you for that, Stephen. But, to be quite honest with you, the amount of material that Stephen compiled is a large amount of material. And so for me as a reader and a word person, it's what I do all day long pretty much. And so it's easy for me to immerse myself in someone's work, and I can really, it's a connection that I have to them. And so for anybody out there that's into collaborative writing or anything like that, it really starts with trust, but that's a risk. But you got to jump in the pool, and if you don't, you'll never know. And Stephen and I, maybe we just got lucky because of the timing, because of the community, because of the connections or the networking, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. But you have to be able to trust each other. And Stephen said to me one time, he said, well, I'm thinking a lot about how I structure my things when I send them to you because I can see how you're fixing things up. And I said, stop thinking about it. Don't think about it at all. Just write. Just let it flow. And he said, but I've never done that before because I always have to. I said, but you don't have to now. Just write. Just fly it off the keyboard and send it to me. Just puke it out and I'll fix it. Right. And a couple of days later, he called me and he said, what he sent me was like 23,000 words, which was a big chunk compared to the pieces that he gave me before in smaller chunks, timing, work, kids, trying to juggle everything. This one was like one big piece. And I said, whoa, what happened here? He said, well, I did what you told me to, and I love it. So you have to trust each other out there. For people that are writing and collaborating together, you have to trust each other. And it won't always be the right person. Like I said, maybe me and Stephen got lucky, but I also want everybody to understand, like I'm a writer, but I'm a techie word writer. I'm like the format and structure guy. Stephen is the imagination, you see. And I'm just a tailor with words, and that's the technical part that I have. And I told Stephen very early on, because he was very complimentary to me, and I appreciate that, but I don't look at myself like that, and I really don't know how to take that. I'm just a tailor of words, and it's Stephen's
It's like the
suit.
hemispheres of the
that.
brain. That's what
I
it
like
sounds
that
like to me.
Well,
phrase.
Stephen, I'm just a tailor of words. It's Stephen's suit, okay? And all I did was
Oh,
pull it in a little bit in the back to tighten it up. I moved the lapels a little bit higher on his shoulders to make him appear a little more aristocratic. But he's the one in it, and it's his suit, okay? And I just want to make
Well,
sure he knows that.
to go off of that example, I mean, John Wick's cool and all, but would he accomplish what he did without his tailor in John Wick 2?
That's a pretty nice suit.
Well, it's the left
Um,
eye of Horus and the right eye of Horus.
Could very well be. That's a nice analogy, Laura. Thank you.
So
Yeah.
between Mike and Steven, go with Mike first on this. Most anticipated chapter that you're waiting to see, like people's reaction to, the one that you're like, this is my favorite, or this will get the biggest, in your opinion. What, like, whether it's Steven's or from other menacers that have contributed, which one are you anticipating the most? If you can divulge that.
As far as like how we would feel that, which, let's say, like a chapter that the community might respond best to, you mean, or more enthusiastically to?
Just like whatever you think it would be, like whoa, that's where, like, okay, I'm an analogy guy. So Last Temptation of Christ, despite the whole point of the movie being about, humanizing Christ and showing him as a man and the struggle of that and his temptation being to get off the cross, everyone jumped on that film as, that's the movie Jesus fucks Mary Magdalene, and they totally missed the fucking point, So, like, if there is one, whether it's the SJWs that blow this up, and you'll have like a Ichibaka data racer combo of coverage, or if it's just like everyone in the fandom's like high five, like, woo, that piece really sold it, really know it. What would that be, to you?
Well, to me, it's
without spoiling, just kind of giving us a tease.
Well, we've got so much material. I don't think we're worried about spoilers. We can share quite a few things, but the thing is that that's a hard question to answer, actually. For me, I think it should be multi-layered. For instance, the first chapter dealing with Gamergate is going to be an introspective chapter for those who were there. It's going to be a little nostalgic. For those who weren't there, it's going to be educational and perhaps enlightening.
I need it.
Other chapters, for instance, the Mark Hamill chapter, I expect everybody to be really pissed off, to be honest with you, and not so very happy with The Last Jedi as well. The first volume is more of a how we got here. Stephen really wanted to showcase and celebrate the members of the community that are here. So as far as SJWs freaking out over the work, if they want to get up on the internet like they do, I guess, every fucking day around here, Angus, and piss all over themselves over a yearbook, essentially, of monumental people in a first-time community that we've never had on planet Earth before, of amazing and talented people. Well, if they want to piss all over themselves on the internet for that, well, they can go right ahead as far as I'm concerned. I even lay it out in my editor notes.
Billboard, man. Yeah.
I even lay it out in my editor.
Dedicated it to them.
I even laid it out in my notes. I said, if anybody's pissed off about any of this stuff that Stephen's written, because it's very well written, in my opinion, and if you're pissed off about it, just send all your hate to me. Please leave Stephen alone. Just send it all to me, and like I said in my editor's notes, I'll try to choke out a response to you while I laugh at you. Okay? So that's my answer for people that want to criticize the work. You can take it for whatever you like. The community, I think, is going to be happy to have a reflection of themselves, and I don't think that'll have to be sold to anybody, because that's them reflected. The people that are going to have a problem with it, we know who they are, and we deal with those assholes every day. Like I said, Mary dealt with one very effectively yesterday morning. You might recall, like I said, Mary's cool like that. When she finds an asshole,
awesome.
put it right up the booty hole. She don't care. She's cool like that. That's why we love her.
I was talking to her about that earlier, actually. She's
Absolutely
so sweet.
We deal with them every day. So there's lots of folks that are around that know how to deal with these idiots.
I haven't yet. I haven't gotten the pleasure yet.
You'll see. The French fighters will take all the handle. But I expect them to be pissed off. And to be honest with you, I've got a whole folder all ready to go for all the new receipts. So it should be a fun season.
How about you, Steven? What are you anticipating reaction to the most?
Uh, for hate material, that's going to be twofold. The Gamergate chapter, because I'm going to be reopening some old false narratives in that chapter, dissecting it. So anybody who's familiar with that time will, like Mike said, will be reminiscent, nostalgic of that time, because it's really going to show just in a span of 1 month. I mean, there are some things that reach out beyond that first month, but in that span of one chapter, I have delved into many of the really powerful, wonderful things that one thing, the power of 4chan and 8chan. They can, I mean, as much as they can be a force for chaos, they can be a real force for good. And there's something that they did that I did not get out into the mainstream. A very, very powerful, direct assault upon the false narrative that they took up arms for and fought against the Access Media, the Zoe Quinn hate mobs, all of them, and won that fight, but did not get any coverage because it refutes the false narrative. And also, it delves into the SJW princess Zoe Quinn. So the Zoe Quinn hate mobs are going to hate on that. Just exposes the living hell out of her. It also shows the SJWs that to this day are still being placed in positions of power that came from this era, that espouse the propaganda and destructive sexism and racism and identity politics. So I think it's, and to those who have not gone through Gamergate, did not go through it, were not interested in it, or just flat out didn't know, it's going to be a very educational piece. You're going to read that chapter and you're going to go, oh, I see Disney Lucasfilm here. I see Paul Feig here. I see so and so here. You're gonna see where it came from. Just step by step, I lead you through it. So by the time you get to later chapters, you understand that there is already an established system, and has been for years, of professionals in the entertainment industry and journalists that have been working together to insult you, to feed your children lies, to condition them to believe in these false narratives. The chapter that I think that will be praised, honestly, will be the TLJ chapter. I go pretty in depth on the highlights of what exactly happened at that time. I took a lot of quotes, got a lot of receipts from Disney Lucasfilm employees and Kathleen Kennedy, that horse-faced bitch herself, and put it all together for you, and with Mike's help, so that there's no disputing it. There's no disputing. Everybody that knows that in the know is going to read it and go, yeah, yep, that makes, yep, that's what happened. That's me, yep. And then you're going to have the Kathleen Kennedy woke audience, which is going to go, oh no, no, feelings over facts, that's not right, that's the feelings over facts, and they're going to completely go batshit fucking insane over it, because I beat the living shit out of their fucking false bullshit. And really I really tried to show what we had gone through, the disrespect that our fandom had gone through, and why it happened, and the true poisonous natures of those in creative control.
It's like Riddick, the rage of an entire race is at your disposal.
Yeah.
And I wanted to address somebody that was in the chat there a few moments ago. We had Curtis YJ. Thanks for coming to see us tonight, Curtis. You had a certain comment here. You said, "You guys sold me tonight. Link, please. I'm not a reader, so that's honestly why I'm a tough cookie." And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about as someone I'm a big reader person and you're not a big reader person, and so I've tried to make a bridge between those two worlds here. As an editor, I want 55 words in a paragraph, 5 to 6 paragraphs a page, and 10,000 words in a chapter. And the way Stephen prepared his material for me, and when I had it all laid out in a linear way that I could actually organize it, everything for volume 1 and 2 so far, everything has literally laid sentence by sentence, page by page, almost effortlessly in the format that I chose to mount everything in.
Ooh.
And so I don't want to. It worked out. It's kind of mathematically it worked out. It's a very strange thing when I do a lot of paper every day, and then I don't know. Maybe it's Steven's magic. I don't know. But in any case, I just want you to know that I wanted a small, light read for everyone because there's a variety of different people, variety of different reading backgrounds and everything, and I didn't want to put anybody to sleep, and I didn't want to bore anybody. So I kept everything pretty to the point and nice and short. There's no big, giant paragraphs, as you can see. And I'm just going to read for you a portion of Steven's journey of how he found the Fandom Menace, because we have a person that's in this on the show tonight with us, Angus, who's just a new person, as you know. And so we'll give you a little bit of perspective, and other people out there as well, Amy, what it was like for Steven a little bit. I'm just going to read the first 2 pages because it's a nice chapter, and I don't want to spoil the rest of the chapter, but I want to, everywhere we go in the lead up to the final days, I'd like to share a little piece with everybody. We've got enough material, and I think this is a special chapter. So it's called Alone in the Galaxy, and this is Steven's reflection on his coming to the Fandom Menace and how he arrived. And so does it speak bocce. By the time January 2018 rolled around, there had been many parts of the entertainment industry that had become infected with social justice politics. And for my part, as a lifelong Star Trek and Star Wars fan, I felt the line must be drawn somewhere. I was confused, angry, insulted, and betrayed, and both of these properties had always been based on hope. This far, no further, I thought. And I knew of no real place or space where I could go to vent my frustration. I wasn't aware of any community aspects other than cons and cosplay clubs. The media seemed to be all repeating the same mantras. And if you don't like these changes, it's because it's something wrong with you, not the Marxist bullies in creative control. I remember the moment that I was looking on YouTube for something to watch. I generally use that platform to seek out science, history, or music videos. Like me, many others had apparently made it a point to try to ignore the rhetoric, but after the dumpster fire of The Last Jedi, but then the CBS Star Trek Discovery showed the complete disregard and contempt of some of the production studios have for their own customers, they couldn't take it anymore. And all over these respective fan bases in huge overlapping and creative ways, fans of space-based science fictions were taking notice now, getting together and crafting their voices. And all over respective fan bases, The Last Jedi, my son and I had of ways a fan space-based science. Oh, one sec here, the pages. I've got some messed up text here. In the months leading up to The Last Jedi, my son and I had, of course, been looking up the Star Wars fan theory videos as we had, along with many others, anticipated these films' releases. I had not seen any community Star Wars channels before going to see The Last Jedi on opening night. I did not go looking for Star Wars videos on CBS when they tried to convince me that operatic necro what the fuck space orcs were somehow Klingons. I don't even remember. I don't even remember what I typed into the search bar exactly. I brought up a search in YouTube, so perhaps it was a video that began in the autoplay. However it started, that video changed my life. And it was a video from a channel that I had never heard before, Geeks and Gamers, a dude about my age. He looked into the camera and through his chosen medium, and he spoke right at me. And so that is the type of thing that you're in store for Steven's personal reflections of his own self when he gets out of compiling massive amounts of data for me to try to sort.
Steven, if I could interject a quick little critique on that is somehow you should retool that where it's like, he spoke to me through another video. You gotta bring it in where people are like, he did it in the book. You know, like a Family Guy gag. You know,
I didn't want to turn the page, Angus, and now you've done it for me. You see?
That's all I had.
No, that's right. So anyways, Curtis. Each chapter is short enough that you can sit in 15 or 20 minutes and you can get through a chapter, and then you can put the book down. When you come back, the next chapter you pick up, it's a different chapter with a different topic, and so you can just pick it up and go for 20 minutes and then put it down. So it's not a heavy read by any means, and I did it that way intentionally, and I split it into volumes intentionally to not make it intimidating, because to be honest with you, Steven's work is pretty intimidating.
Yeah, no,
So
I agree.
I am very proud to have this live on my toilet. Like you guys have really made something that we can sit down and think about, and very much of a YouTube in the YouTube fashion where you're bouncing from video to video, topic to topic. Is the Indiegogo still up, or are we past that? Or
Yep, it's got 4 days left.
4 days left, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, and y'all are fully funded.
Yes, indeed.
We still have books to sell.
And we still have amazing people to thank out there for all of that. So I do thank them very much. It's quite a remarkable, well, you know me, Angus, I've spent a couple of years pumping everybody else's work. So it's a very strange place for me to be on this side of it. And it's a little awkward for me. It's strange. I mean, it's good. It's just a little overwhelming. And I'm very grateful for all the support that everyone's given us. So thank you.
A real critique, I might add, Stephen, because hearing this chapter and then reading your Indiegogo, it's very intense. The Indiegogo, the long form pitch, the page or what have you. You've gone so far. I never looked through that because I'm talking to you all the time in chat, so I never really combed it to critique it. But yeah, if not this one, if you have maybe an in demand or something, I'm not sure how long you're going with that. So I know you want to get it to people during Rise of Skywalker's being out in theaters. But yeah, if anything, I would say as well written as your pages, it could definitely be intimidating to people. They might come across and wow, this guy this is beyond my YouTube knowledge. I can't process this. I would say it's above some people in our fandom. So that's my only actual critique. Knowing your stuff so far is dumb it down a bit because it's so well written. It's so smart. And it's gonna evade a lot of people's minds.
I hope it elevates people's
Or
minds.
make them smarter.
I actually think that
I like that idea.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I just want to entertain people now.
well, treating the topic with scholaristic, vocabulary and research, to me, legitimizes the whole idea because the detractors are immediately going to be like, well, this is just a bunch of fat people on YouTube going, I don't like the movie. Right,
well,
but
I agree there in an aspect as well, Coyle, and from a philosophical point of view, coming at it from a writing perspective, I think it's an insult to my readers to talk down to them. To be honest with you, I think that's an insult to the sophistication of my readers. To be honest with you, I think they're much more sophisticated than the media gives them credit for, than the government gives them credit for. But I consider them to be my equals, and so I'm not gonna. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I know where you're coming from, and I agree.
Sure.
But on the other hand, I'm not going to insult my readers. I believe that they maintain and possess the same amount of sophistication and potential that I do, and so therefore I'm just going to share, and I'm going to help them to understand in the best way that I can. And like Coyle said, if the status or I guess sophistication of our community is reflected in a more positive way, well, then so much the better.
Hey, one thing, actually, two things. One, this book is for us. It's for our entire community. I don't care how long you've been here. I don't care if you just joined us. I don't care if you join us in next month. This book is for our community, but it's also for outside of it. Because there are a lot of people out there that probably agree with us and probably feel just as slighted and disappointed and attacked that don't know we're here. And so I want this book to reach out into the other spheres and bring people in, or at least show them that there are others that feel the same way that they do. I want to bring more subs to your channels. I want to bring more friends to the chats. I want to bring more conversation to the table, more opinions and outlooks. So it's not just a book that I'm aiming at the Fandom Menace. This is the first run, absolutely, because this is our book. You guys get it first. Well, this is just something that's going to expand out. I also wanted to say that Curtis left and back the book while you were reading that, Mike, and I was wondering if you could read a little bit out of the Last Jedi chapter for him.
Of the Last Jedi chapter? Okay.
Yes.
So give me a second here. Chapter 4.
While you're finding that, I'm Not Creative says, they call us fat. I only weigh 150.
He also said, I would like to mention that Dash Star in the Fandom Menace.
Yeah,
He
I
created
saw
the
that.
first Fandom Menace video before Jeremy. I'm not sure if I'm sub to Dash Star, and if I'm not, that's a crime. I'm gonna go take a
Dude.
look at that.
I've
Thank
heard
you.
of that.
Dash Star had this rad like 8-bit intro for a long time, and I actually, before I ever dreamed of being a YouTube, Star Wars Theory, you guys brought him up earlier. Dash Star was one of them. Comic Bessie, he changed his name to like Star Wars Comics. All
Mhm.
those guys were like fueling my anticipation for what the Last Jedi possibly could be, and then our subsequent letdown.
Mhm.
I really think it was Mahler who like crystallized my disdain for what I was given.
Mauler videos. I've been
That
missing
is
some Mauler videos.
Oh, Mauler is so good.
But
There we go, Angus.
awesome. There we go.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike.
No
Speaking of
worries. I'll just do the first 2 pages like the last
Final
one.
straw.
So this is called The Final Straw, and that applies.
I know what you did there. That was the shirt that they didn't make.
This one's called The Final Straw, because that's probably the feeling that most of us in the community have towards this chapter and towards this movie, I'm sure. In the fall of 2012, the new head of Lucasfilm in waiting under its new Disney banner, Kathleen Kennedy, sat at a table with Star Wars creator George Lucas and lied straight to his face. Smiling while she did so, Kennedy knew exactly what her intentions were. After years of quietly acquiring credit and experience as a producer for wonderful films written and directed by talented creators, Kennedy would be perfectly positioned to effect an industry change. She would go on to build it along with a personal ideology, which took at its focus what she viewed as a toxic male culture that also happened to be a primary customer and supporter of her product. A third-wave feminist philosophy had reared up and showed itself a powerful mover and shaker in cultural arenas earlier this decade with movements and struggles such as Gamergate. This movement, or social wave, as some have described it, built upon early successes as an exemplar of sexism. This wave seemed to project a philosophy or the perception that in order to elevate marginalized segments of the population, society has to devalue others who are conveniently perceived or labeled as oppressors. And Kennedy was now in a position of power and influence. She displays and encourages the belief that women do not share the same rights and liberties in the Western world as men. She feels compelled to use her enormous platform and influence to push social doctrine, and she declares and advertises publicly to expel and deny employment or participation to men who may not only be qualified, who might contribute greatly to the quality of the work that should go into such a storied and historic franchise. She has decided who can plan, create, and produce future Star Wars content based on sex and identity. She has declared by encouraging and then ignoring the fracturing and division experienced by consumers and fans that she can decide who may and who may not have the pleasure of participating in the franchise at all. And she does not seem to find any value nor any reason to unite or promote a community spirit in any fair way or in any way at all, really. The community's members and consumers are supporters of the brand who dared criticize any aspect of her approach to their beloved material are socially ostracized. And she has actively excluded customers to prove an ideological point, and she's effectively turned Lucasfilm into one of the largest sounding boards for activist social engineering theories on the planet.
Fuck yeah. Very succinct.
And that's how we do that shit round here.
I like that she's like completely in charge, but she like argues like the oppressed woman approach. I'm like,
Really?
huh?
You've heard her
Yeah,
argue? I've never heard her speak.
I haven't heard her speak, but it seems. Well,
She
no,
spoke.
that's
She
that's
said
her
Ryan
argument.
Johnson she was so impressed with the TLJ that she was giving Ryan Johnson a trilogy before it even hit theaters.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Sorry.
She was impressed.
I think
She
they
was
called
impressed.
that, I think that was a sequel title, wasn't it, Angus? I think they called it Nolo.
What?
You know, it's funny though. Mentioning that, that shows you like a deal like that is being talked about for at least a couple months before they release it to the press. So, you say like, wow, they said this in November, but really this was going on back in September, August. You don't know how far back that like
You mean
talking.
the
Like, yeah, let's give you a trilogy.
Well, no, you mean for Ryan. I thought you meant the spelling that George sold it. I thought that's what you were talking about. Yeah.
No, yeah, it's However, it's like whatever we learn, it's like this is in talks and rumors behind the scenes for months. So it's like she saw this or what seemed to be the generally final product and thought, yeah, Star Wars fans are going to love this. Let's give them another trilogy. Like if it was, if it,
throw that one up there as you're talking, because this is who you're talking about. I mean, obviously, check them out. I mean, that's what we've got. Right? Simple as that.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, what I was gonna say. One thing I'm curious about, and this is probably in future volumes, but the Star Wars theory copyright claim. Are y'all going to address that? Are you going to speculate that, or address it in any way?
Oh yeah, I've got material for that. Yeah, that's all going to be. That's probably going to be volume 3, 4 material. I'm 95% ready with 2.
What do you mean about? I'm not.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna catch you up on that, Amy. But before I do another follow up with this, will we get into like the Captain Marvel sphere? Is this just going to stay Star Wars Fandom Menace?
I actually met her.
Oh,
yeah,
what was that like?
Really?
She's nice. She's actually nice. It's weird.
Yeah, Amy has a good anecdote. Tell them, Amy. That was a good story.
Like, I met her with, completely being like, oh, she's going to be a bitch. And she's like super nice. And I was like, what is going on? She's very nice.
What kind of work do you do to meet these people?
And I'm a dork and I went to a con. And
okay. I didn't know.
I was dressed up as Tanya Harding. My friend went as Nancy Kerrigan. It was awesome. It was so fun.
Love it.
Wait, why does that name sound
a lot
familiar?
of fun.
Ice skaters, Angus.
Yeah, ice skaters.
Oh yeah, my foreman at work were talking about that I, Tanya movie. So okay.
Yeah, like I was in like the maroon outfit, and so my friend we had to take so many pictures. Her knees were like bruised from having to get on the ground and grab her knee. Like we have so many people stopped to take pictures with us, and we did it for 2 days. And even at our hotel when we had to walk in, people were really excited about it. I don't know, it was so fun. We'll definitely do it again someday.
Now, was she wearing mom jeans when you met her?
Who?
Captain Marvel.
No, she looked really cute.
Oh wow, okay, that's funny.
No, she's really nice. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't compute.
Right.
Genuinely nice. Everyone was
Lethal
very
Lightning would
surprised
love
by
to hear
this.
Oh, I'm gonna clip this for Lethal, but hey, go to this point, get some scoop on Carol. But okay, so catching Amy. All right, so back in December last year, so this is almost a year now. And this is I guess to go even further back, I learned about the Star Wars theory Vader film he was working on through Geeks and Gamers. What I understood at the time, I don't know what happened, or if it still is happening or what, but Jeremy's talking about if we get to $1 million for this funding to get this, the Star Wars series is trying to crowdfund a Vader film, trying to get $1 million. And so Jeremy's talking about, from what I understood, he was going to be in it if they hit a goal or something, or past it, a tier. And but Disney got involved, said hey, you can't crowdfund to make a fan film with our IP stuff, because essentially you might profit off of our property.
Dare you profit?
So, so he had, the funds he accrued or whatever. Clearly, it's a lot of hey, go buy my merch. It's totally not related to me funding this. It's wink, wink. But I don't know if you've seen it, but yeah, it's really good. I think 15-minute short he did for the episode 1, since he didn't get the full funding he needed with those limitations. But a month after the video came out, hugely well received, got more views than Star Wars Resistance came out around the same time, the trailer, and I would say 80% plus viewers that responded loved what he did with Vader. And it was big talk of the town for a month. And about a month after he released it, Warner Chappell, which is a Warner Brothers music rights holder or something, they own majority share, I guess, of copyright decision making over Star Wars music, or at least some Star Wars music. Don't know how that happened, but yeah, they own So they claimed some of his individually crafted music that is similar to Star Wars. They copyright claimed it manually, so like they purposely claimed his
Wait,
video.
well, did John Williams make it?
No. He contracted like his own composer to like mimic
Exactly.
Star Wars, but not copy it. And so yeah, it was a huge fiasco. They
That's
told
ridiculous.
him, like the lawyers and stuff told him, like, if you try to fight us, we're going to like nuke your channel, essentially. So he responded by getting on YouTube and telling his followers, hey, I got copyright claimed. And so I don't think they foresaw that obvious answer to the problem. My theory, and I still get clicks on this video randomly. My theory from the get-go was this was coordinated. I'm one of those people. I think Hollywood, despite the competition of companies, they're all together. It's like just like Fandom Menace. Generally we're all Fandom Menace. We might compete, try to surpass each other. And be like, hey, I'm the top guy or something. But we're all together in the end
You
against.
mean like this? You don't believe the studios compete with each other?
No. I'm not saying that they don't. I'm saying like
Okay.
in the end, they're all Hollywood, and they don't.
Yes.
They see something like
Hollywood.
Star Wars theory, and it's like, oh fuck, people might realize they can like make franchises independently. We can't let our money.
Seriously, that needs to happen though, because it's just getting to be a joke. Like it's
Yeah.
just
Special effects have become so affordable that honestly, people like Star Wars Theory or Ivan Ortega, we can go in our backyards and shoot our own thing and have it feel more like Star Wars than these big mega corporations. The only thing is they have their social agenda and their billions of dollars at stake. All we have at stake is, do my friends like this? Does this feel like Star Wars?
And I mean,
Yeah.
Amy, has Amy seen the Vader video?
no, I haven't.
Doesn't sound like it. No.
No, we should get a link to her for that, and for
If
anybody
we
else.
can get 10,000 thumbs up on this video, then Amy will watch this live.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it's really good. It's
yeah,
cool.
if we get 10,000 likes on this video, then I will actually watch The Last Jedi.
Okay, you heard that.
I'll live tweet my reactions.
You heard that,
Yes.
community.
Mexican Iron Man.
Whenever, if I have a feeling I will end up watching it, and I'm probably going to have to like live tweet that. It's going to be a lot of complaining, I promise.
Yeah, Mexican Iron Man, it's the Vader fan film that Star Wars Theory did. I can't remember. Shards of the Past, this was called. Vader Shards of the Past. But yeah,
That
my
could be
theory
a good
was
idea. Sorry,
Yeah,
I was like,
you should do a reaction to it. Since you're new to the Phantom Menace stuff, you should do a reaction, because I think other people did reactions. But yeah, my theory
Yeah,
was
I will.
that this was coordinated, that Lucasfilm, knowing all this, like a year-long backlash of Last Jedi, it's like, well, this is a big hit. Hey, how about you fucking manually claiming shit, and then we'll come in and say like, hey, release that claim. Don't attack the fans. To get us. It's a false flag. Is what I'm getting at. That's what I thought it was, and
what do you
people
mean
thought
by
I was
false
crazy.
flag? Like this, I thought that was associated with.
Well, that's a term usually used in like war or like massacres or something like that, to instigate
Is that
emotional
like
response.
alien thing?
No. False flag, like
That's
I know what you
Pearl
mean.
Harbor
It's
would be the bad guy.
where
Pearl
you
Harbor.
put that, and a lot of people believe
Yeah.
it, and
Yeah,
in
Pearl
order
Harbor
to
was,
distract you from a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, Pearl Harbor was rumored or has been argued to be a false flag or something like that, where it's like, well, the Allies knew the Japanese were coming, but this was a way to get us into the war and get industry booming and stuff, is having a huge emotional
For the military industrial complex, you mean?
you can tie it to that, yeah, definitely. But like, just if it seemed FDR and stuff wanted to get in the war, that'd be a great way to bolster the economy or get us working again. And so yeah, it's definitely been argued that Pearl Harbor was a false flag by the government to get us involved, to get the people emotionally responding to like rally the troops and get us angry. And I think that my theory back then, and it's still today, is that this claim was coordinated between the studio and Warner, because it's not like they're not talking to Warner like, hey, you own the rights to our music, at least partially. It's not like they're not talking to each other. People thought
I
I
mean,
was,
it'd almost be smart if they did,
people
because
thought
they
I
have
was,
like two competing. They have like Marvel competing with DC. I mean, it would make sense. Like, how can we like play this up, like play off this
oh, they
rivalry?
did
I feel
that
like
with,
that would make more
they
sense.
did that with BVS. Like BVS happened, then Civil War got announced. So they play off each other, and they, it's back and forth, and it builds
So DC was
conversation.
like, "We'll take a hit."
Well, it's the same puppeteer
Sorry, I'm
doing
sorry, I'm
the right and
sorry.
the left hand, right? And we're just kind of paying attention to whichever one's like the brightest and the shiniest.
But,
So,
but yeah, really quick. Yeah, my theory was this: that was a false flag, and Captain Marvel happened 2 months later, the end of February. They deleted the 1 to C score when it got down to 27%.
I saw that. I saw. No,
Yeah,
I
and
thought it
so
got lower than that.
then you find out that Fandango owns Rotten Tomatoes. Fandango is owned by shared, like I think it's mainly Universal, but Warner Brothers has a cut. So they're the two like joint majority owners. But
That's
the
really
like top guys of Fandango, and this is like the main go-to ticket sell place.
Yeah.
A lot of these big guys at Fandango are from Disney. So
oh yeah, I have the list. We have it in our Captain Marvel chapter.
yeah, this is all like it's all intersected, like regardless of what DC and Marvel or Disney and Universal, whatever they compete against each other, they're all like, we're the industry. Someone like Star Wars Theory is a fucking plebeian douchebag on YouTube who's going to undercut our business if people catch on to what he can build. Like, and my whole argument was like, with Comicsgate, you got Ethan Van Sciver making Cyberfrog. Well, what if he crowdfunded enough to make a film? He could build his own DCEU kind of or Marvel thing if he linked up with people to make like a Comicsgate universe, and it's all on YouTube or BitChute. It's all crowdfunded, and they own all the shit. This is baseline. It's undercutting their business, and that was my argument. Captain Marvel was like the layup to justify my theory 2 months before.
So you're
That's
saying
why
that they like didn't it just what that like all that changed not as a reaction to that, they were like, planning it.
yeah, I really think it didn't make sense because like if they were trying to make money off of Star Wars Theory from that Vader video, like he already had like a month's worth of hits. It was already like that month was already cashed in, so like they're not making money off of like the few thousand that are watching it way after it's hit.
It's like
Yeah, so
it's not like they need more money. They're pretty good on money.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, you're
Well,
probably.
Netflix has like a random amount of money. Like what they pay like D&D like what, like $250,000 or
Yeah.
million,
So,
sorry. Whoa. Yeah.
Stephanie
big
Well,
number,
and
Jan,
to
sorry.
me, the fear of the independent creator is what's leading to these tightening of regulations, like
Dun,
we're
dun,
seeing with
dun.
this. They can declare anything unfit for kids now.
Oh
so
God, I
Right,
was
that
looking through
happened on
that. It's the
YouTube.
most confusing, vague thing I've ever seen.
Stephanie Janicic posted this. She's also a part, one of the creators who's contributed to the book. She'll be in volume 2, I believe.
Cool.
So she posted this, and this is the power of 4chan, the power of anonymous. Just wanted to read this to you guys, just if you didn't feel bad enough about the upcoming episode 9 debacle. The climax of the movie has been altered yet again. Everything here is based on the newest cut right now. This is rumor, by the way. This is rumor.
Your
Ray
sources are as good as my sources.
Ray arrives on Exegol to confront Sheev. Sheev is attached
Remind
to
me
his
of who
right
Sheev is. I'm so sorry. It's been a while.
Palpatine.
Sheev
What?
Palpatine.
Why is
Palpatine.
he? Oh, that was his first
His
name.
first name Sheev.
I did not realize
Sheev,
that.
Sheev talks to Ray, nearly reciting word for word his speech
Oh,
to
Matt
Luke
Smith,
from
what
Return
did
of
you
the
do?
Jedi. Sheev confirms that Ray is his granddaughter, but doesn't go into detail as to which of her parents was his offspring.
This is terrible.
Ray asks Sheev how he's still alive if Vader killed him 31 years ago. This is the alteration from the Kylo meeting Sheev scene. Plot twist. Sheev reveals that he is the real one. The Sheev who died in the Return of the Jedi was merely a clone. Sheev
Then
knew
how
that
come it
Vader
didn't
would
age?
ultimately betray him, so he prepared several clones in advance for such an occasion while he hid himself on Exegol, tricking the galaxy into thinking he was dead. The Knights of Ren are also implied to be clones. During this revelation, another clone walks in, appearing to be far younger than the current Sheev. This clone is played by Matt Smith.
Oh,
Side-
Doctor
No,
Who.
Matt Smith,
Yeah.
what'd you do? No.
On side note,
Younger and more powerful.
it's crazy because the leak that I had gotten months ago that I didn't report on had Matt Smith in it.
He's like the only good thing about this movie.
As a side note, this is easily the worst part of the entire movie based on its current cut, as it implies that Palpatine willingly allowed his empire to fall. It directly negates Vader's sacrifice and made everything post-ROTJ look like massive idiots who
That's
got bamboozled.
horrible.
Anyway, Kylo Ren approaches the throne room. The
Oh,
Knights of Ren
that
stop
totally
it.
just destroys everything before it.
Yes. Well, that's what SJWs do. They don't respect anything before them in favor of the new
It's-
narrative.
I mean, it literally gone. It erases it.
Yes. Kylo Ren approaches the throne room, but the Knights of Ren stop him. Rey force teleports Leia's lightsaber to him. Force teleports Leia's lightsaber to him. Kylo kills all the knights and enters the throne room. Sheev smiles and states how Rey and Kylo have finally been brought together, almost mirroring
Ew.
Snoke's speech in TLJ. This is one of the things that JJ meant by honoring TLJ. She says, execute order 67 through a hologram. Oh my God. There you go. There you go, Angus. There you go.
What?
No.
She says, execute order
No.
67 through a hologram. The Sith armada of Star Destroyers, mounted with Death Star cannons, arrives.
Oh, I heard
from the
this
water.
too.
Leia and Hux join forces and assemble the Resistance fleet. They engage with the Sith forces over Exegol. Jonna and Finn, that pisses me off. They use that name. Fuck you. Jonna and Finn lead a cavalry charge. The cavalry charge aboard General Pride's flagship to disable it as the regular ships can't destroy it for some reason. They must take out they got to use horses. They got to use horses.
Yeah.
They must take out the flagship in order to send the Sith fleet into disarray. Finn and Jonna kill Pride and take out the flagship. Sheev cackles and shoots out Force lightning to disable the entire Resistance fleet.
No.
Hold on, let me read that again. Sheev cackles and shoots out Force lightning to disable the entire Resistance fleet. The Millennium Falcon. The Millennium Falcon gets blown up. The Millennium Falcon gets blown up. Leia, Lando, Chewie, 3PO,
God.
Yeah, I like this. Fuck Leia. I really.
This is supposed
They literally
to be
just. God.
Mhm. This is supposed to be
Wait. But she has force shielding. How the fuck does she ever die?
I don't know. This is supposed to be the saddest part of the movie. Rey and Kylo try to fight off Sheev. Sheev kills Kylo with Force lightning and sends him into the abyss. This causes Rey to get angry and channel every Jedi ever. Sheev shoots lightning at Rey, but she deflects it back at him. Sheev blows up, dying once and for all. Rey then shoots a torrent of lightning into the sky and disables the rest of the Sith armada. The remaining Resistance ships finish them off. Victory ensues, and everyone cheers for Rey. The ending involving Tatooine and Rey Skywalker is the same. They go to Tatooine and bury the Skywalker family stuff. A stranger walks up to Rey and asks her who she is. She takes on the surname Skywalker as the title, for she has found her place in life. The end.
That's terrible. It's so bad.
This is going to be the fucking dumpster fire of the decade.
No, that's
Angus,
terrible.
put this,
Oh my God.
look, Angus, put this one up. I think we could have solved this problem really easy a couple of years ago. Throw that one up there, Angus. I have a way to fix everything. Look, there you go. Game over.
Fuck John Boyega.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my God.
Oh,
I'm
man.
gonna pull this up and I'm gonna show this meme I made last year for fucking Boyega. But no, I can argue from my interpretation. I know everyone's upset with the direction and stuff. Clearly, a lot of dumb shit. I've made peace. I've compartmentalized with this trilogy that, and maybe for the whole entirety, like people love Mando 1 and 2 episodes, and I do too. I love Baby Yoda clearly, but seeing the promo for episode 3, I'm like, well, you got Deborah Cho is going to do Obi-Wan. This will be your first taste, Star Wars fans, unless you watched your other kind of odd here and there movies. But yeah, episode 3, the promo I saw when I was watching the Eagles Patriots game, it felt very different from the first 2 episodes. And I don't just mean like, hey, we introduce some lone wolf and cub. It's quiet. You got a hit, and then the hit turns out to be a kid, so you got a conscience, whatever. Episode 3, the promo looks cheaper. It looks like CW quality, and it looks like they're going to go wham it. I don't just mean, oh, there's a woman character. It looks like, oh, there's women and they're oppressed or something, and it's just, I don't know. I don't have hope. Like, as much as this is cool, I want to see the full-fledged show before I really judge it. That being said, going back,
I haven't seen anything yet.
Going back to the Luke, Vader, Palpatine thing, and Palpatine being here now. All right, I was cool if he was just somehow preserved himself, but like ran off to like replenish himself or whatever. Or
like if it was the original, you mean?
Yeah, if it was original and he like,
and like he actually did get like fallen or something like that.
Yeah, if he like in episode 8, if he force layered himself and like had that layer around him to shield him from the blast of the Death Star or whatever. It's like that's in canon now, so it's like there's an excuse to like to keep him alive. The whole idea of Palpatine, he can kill people across space and stuff. He can make Anakin the chosen one through the Force, so it's not far-fetched. It's not far-fetched to me that he could be like space Sauron and preserve his essence. So I'm cool with him being back. The whole
I don't mind that. I think just the way they're doing it is just to rip it out from. They're erasing everything, and this is exactly why people are pissed off.
What were you saying?
He disables an entire fleet with Force lightning and blows up the Falcon, and then Rey does it visual.
It sounds like a cool visual, to say the least. But no, I don't think it undercuts Vader and Luke at all, because they had an intent and they did it. They disabled Palpatine, at least for the time being. Their intent was even if they ultimately fail or something, or like the evil comes again or something, if a cop dies in combat or something on the streets fighting crime, it wasn't in vain, know. So that's how I see it, where it's like, yeah, evil rises again. That's just the nature of Star Wars. Now the fact that it's Palpatine, people are pissed about that. Oh, it's dark.
Yeah, but it's the workaround thing. If it was the original, okay, and you're still honoring the original trilogy, whereas this is absolutely undercutting it.
Imagine if Snoke was actually built up as the bad guy, not killed like a meaningless.
I literally don't know who Snoke is. I know what he looks like. I don't care.
Nobody does.
Yeah. Imagine if they had done that.
What's the point of that, actually?
Exactly.
There was no point to Snoke.
Subverting your expectations.
Yeah.
Showing you this
and then being called a man baby. You're a man baby, by the way, Amy. You're overweight 40-year-old. Yes, you're an overweight 40-year-old racist, sexist white man living in your mother's basement because you hate women.
It's a white man with a vagina on its face who gets cut in half.
Hey, not all dad. We just had International Men's Day. Not all.
Yeah, I shared my birthday with it. I was happy to share my birthday with it.
Okay.
Not all men have penises.
I was honored to share my birthday with.
You know what? All you bigots think gender is based on your genitalia.
Where's Mara? Can we have some support for toxic masculinity here, please?
Amy's birthday lands on
National
National Sausage
Day. International Man's Day.
And he's drinking my Guinness.
Oh my God.
You're
drinking a Guinness. Oh,
asshole.
Oh, God, that looks good.
Yeah.
I'll have what's holding the drink.
You in his hand?
Watch the back hole. Watch the back hole.
No, that's why Angus climbs the ladder first. Okay. I don't trust that guy beneath me more than I can throw him.
But also, having the Millennial Falcon.
The Millennial Falcon? Go ahead, Amy.
I'm having trouble today. Words are hard.
That's the name of the sequels. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the Millennial Falcon.
You know what? They changed it. Yeah, right. Okay. I'm kidding. But all right. It's just blowing up, and that's like sad. No, you have to have like the actual like visual person, and like like that. Just an explosion doesn't like just do it. Like that makes it not sad as sad. Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like
it's going to be a comedy. People are going to laugh at how bad it is.
I'm
laughing at
gonna
how
lie.
bad that description was.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna love when the Falcon gets spun up in this fucking movie because, again, it goes to the whole like
Everybody drink.
they just keep milking the original trilogy, and it's like, man, they can't give me fucking anything besides Order
This
67.
one
They can't
literally destroys all of it.
They
Like,
can't do
except for the last
69?
name.
Yeah, why could it be Order 69? Like there wasn't any orders between 66 and
Sorry, I'm not
67?
mature. I'm not mature. I'm not mature.
Because then Raylos
Should have
would
been
have shot the
69.
bolt. If they would have done that, then the Raylos would have shot the bolt before they paid the entrance fee. You can't have that.
Yeah,
I'm going to the theater. I'm going to the theater. I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to sit in the lobby with my buddy that works there. I'm going to sit and watch the Raylos come out with tears streaming down their faces when
I'm
they
gonna bring
realize.
my kids and make them when they're really tired, so they scream the whole time.
I'm gonna go
It's the
pay
meanest
for
thing I
Cats.
could ever do.
Yeah, I'm gonna go pay for Cats. And
But
then
I
I'm
don't
gonna
want to
watch
do
it
that. Can we talk about the Cats trailer, please?
sure.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
God.
Walk us through it.
Isn't it? The second one?
No.
I've seen it.
Well,
Horrifying.
I saw it the other day. Did you see
It's-
Grace Randolph's thumbnail?
Yes,
for her
yes.
video?
I like the sparkle background.
No. Her
That was
thumbnail.
her takeaway.
Her
But no, her
thumbnail.
thumbnail is perfect. Yes.
It's just like she just looks like she's looking at a
She
car
goes,
wreck or
actual
something.
cats would be. She was like, no. She goes, actual cats would be mortified to be like associated with this or something like that. But all the comments below all the comments under her video are the best things I've ever read. I swear to God.
Really quick, Amy, get to the Joker a little bit. I'm Not Creative says, and I know you love this because I know about your last stream. He says, I used to think the sequel
did that.
trilogy was a tragedy. Now I believe it's a comedy.
It's a little bit of both.
I have to get up at 5:30 in the morning, so I'm going to have to dip out. I'm sorry, Angus.
No, you're cool, man. I think Mike's got it with us a little bit. I'm going to end this pretty soon too because I got to go to work and drop my daughter off and stuff. So,
Oh, where do you?
Right. Well, Mike, thanks for being here. My sidekick, my buddy.
No worries. No
Thank
worries
you.
at all.
Thanks for having
Happy
me.
that Angus has us on. Thank you, Angus.
Thank you.
Yeah.
it's
Amy,
no problem.
yeah. Thanks for coming, sweetheart. I
Yeah,
love to see you.
happy
Gonna
to be here.
talk and see you more.
Yeah.
Expecting some pictures of your man in my DMs, and we talk at some
Mine as
point.
well.
Sorry.
Immortal, much love, brother. Wish I was drinking
If
with
it's
you.
a picture with me, will you cross me out or something?
Yo, I'm pasting my face on it, and I'm
No, we're just
All
gonna cut your.
all right.
No, we're gonna cut your
I can
face
just
out.
go ahead and yeah, I had a feeling. I'll
just
just,
put our face on
I'll
there.
crop me out.
Angus, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate this, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
great.
thank you so much.
I like trying to think of ways to like get more detail than others have interviewing you. So this is fun.
Yeah, man. You know, I always
Sneaky.
love coming on here. This is the one channel where I'm not afraid to say anything.
You're not afraid to be gay.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, guys. Have a great night, chat. Thank you very much. Curtis, thank you for buying the
Good
book.
night.
And much love to y'all. Be good to each other.
Night, Steven.
Try.
So yeah,
Yeah,
let's.
That's not
let's
Irish. That's not Irish death coil. Guinness is life. It's not just for breakfast anymore. It's not just for
I tried
breakfast.
Hi,
Guinness
motherfucker.
once.
When I meet you face to face, we're gonna do this.
You got it.
Yeah. So yeah, let's actually walk through, close this out with Amy, her commentary. You got any more commentary on the cats thing, or you just want to get everyone else's take?
I just wanted y'all's take because it's terrifying looking, and that was my favorite musical when I was little.
Yeah, well, like I'm in War Campaign. It's like a subgroup of Comics Gate, and we're very gay, but furry
Fine.
degeneracy, as you call it,
I was gonna
it
say,
seems to be forbidden. But I go against the grain.
is it forbidden? No?
Love
yeah,
it. Love
I
the
went
fun.
there.
No, I
It's
love
so
it.
bad. I'm sorry.
I went to the doctor and there was a question about like sex, whatever, and I said something like, "Well, when the occasion arises," and it wasn't really. I didn't layer it like that, where it's like, I get it, I just said, and she's like, "I see what you did there," and it's like, "Oh, well, that's awesome," It's a great little moment.
Oh, like she didn't just look at you like, no.
Yeah, no, that was funny. Like usually medical, the humor, it's very hit or miss. I was a medic in the Army, so I was in the clinic and stuff.
You just thought you'd
But
give it a shot.
yeah, no, it was cool that it worked. But no, yeah, I'm a furry degenerate, and one of my first crushes, I know my first one I can remember was Lola Bunny, and then I grew up on Thundercats original show, and yeah,
I
Chitara,
remember that.
awesome, and then Cheetah in the comics, just love the furry ladies, and so cats, you
Well,
think
there's
it's
plenty. There's
CGI,
plenty.
thinking
Yeah.
CGI cat ladies and stuff is gonna be hot, and then it's like, ew, Rebel Wilson, fucking James Corden, you got M from Craig's Bond series, which Judi Dench is cool. She actually looks really good. I
You
think her
mean Judi
CGI,
Dench?
Judi Dench's CGI looks really good actually compared to everyone else. She actually
Yeah, she looks
they
good.
worked on
Yeah,
her.
she looks good. Yeah, she looks
Taylor
like
Swift,
normal.
fucking yeah, Rebel Wilson looks awful. I hate her already, but it's like she just legitimately looks awful and it doesn't seem to fit the tone. Or I don't know what the fuck the tone is of this movie. That's the one thing. Idris Elba, like I don't get it. They made a big deal about
I
a
love him.
black
Why did he
girl
make this
playing.
mistake?
They made a big deal about like a black girl playing a white cat, like that was racist or something. But then Idris Elba, like he is a black guy, and his cat is like blackish brown, and it just looks weird. It looks like he's naked.
And not in a good way. Did you see that?
And
Grace
it's just
Randolph, she goes, he looks like he's naked, not in a good way.
yeah. I don't know. And the whole like, well, they're cats, so they're actual cat size in this world. It's just,
It's
I don't know.
weird looking.
But
The human faces are creeping me out.
and
There's so much just.
the other thing about this is they release this at the wrong time because I think the same day they released Cats, Top Gun 2 got released.
There's a Top Gun 2?
Yeah, Top Gun Maverick. Yeah. It looks very much like Force Awakens, where it's just like, yeah, we're just gonna do the same thing 30 years later, but it's gonna rock. And so, yeah, me and my wife, she never saw Top Gun. She was like a hippie dad and
I
shit.
did.
And so I showed her Top Gun
Jesus.
just recently, and she got deep into it. I didn't think she would really care, but
It's
she's
a
like,
good movie. It's a
she's like,
good movie.
oh no, did Goose die and stuff? Like she called Goose was gonna
Meg
die.
Ryan's
Like
the
she
wife,
picked up
yeah.
on the hints in the movie, like, oh, he's
How?
gonna die, isn't he?
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Well, I always heard
she
about
always
it.
blindsides me, like usually I got a good poker face with her, but she always blindsides me.
My husband, he always picks up, like, he's not surprised by like twists in a movie ever.
Yeah,
I'm always spoiled prior to the twist, and I still enjoy the movie. So, like before I saw Joker, I actually looked up the entire plot.
Yeah,
I was really impatient, and I was like, I want to know the ending. I was not gonna be able to go see it because I was like painting 2 murals in my house, and I only had a limited amount of time to do that.
Yeah,
So.
Yeah, I saw. I was saying something about the Taurus. Yeah, and I didn't even think like, oh yeah, I'm Black Angus as well. With the Taurus. But yeah. So is that like your profession? Are you like a mural painter?
I'm a fine artist, actually. I will normally paint canvases. My studio's not built yet, so I'm slumming it, Phil.
Okay, no, that's cool. How long have you been doing
that? Well, I've been painting my whole life. I'm an artist. And I do like mainly abstraction. I did realism for a long time, but then you're always kind of comparing yourself to who did it better, and so I do abstraction, so it's something that I can do that nobody else can in my way that I do it. Like, I'm doing some, like, my representation of whatever is unique to me, and I didn't sell my first painting until I was like 27, but done pretty well since then. So that's my company. So that's what I do.
Nice.
And I also, have kids, and family. So.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool to bring in have that family aspect because like in this realm, it's either like people are like too old. Like in the YouTube community, it's like either people are too old and their kids are already like gone, so they're not cognizant of the real world with kids, where it's like, oh, like literally today at work, because we're like kind of an easy day today. I'm a plumber, like Immortal. I do construction. He's construction too, but I do like industrial
We do
construction.
roughing in.
He's doing like houses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm at this place we're renovating apartments, but it's easy day. It's mainly just most shit's done, little touch ups here and there. So I walk by the superintendent of the site, and he's like, "Oh, hey, can you come here?" and I'm like thinking like, what the fuck am I filling out? Like this guy never asked anyone for paperwork, and he's like, oh, this is like some like quiz or whatever for research for his daughter's class. And it's like some
Aw.
overpopulation shit. Well, no, it's like college, and it's like overpopulation, and where it's like,
Oh God.
do you
I'm
think this?
terrified.
The answers were like guided, where it's like, do you
It's
think we should
creepy.
have a? Do you think we should have a Chinese like child cap
No.
and stuff? And it's like the way they word it's like, no, not in the slightest! Exclamation point versus just a subtle yes,
That crap.
or like unsure. But they, it's guided where it's like. You just sound radical if you say no. We shouldn't have fucking
I know.
caps on people's family procreativity.
I still would pick that answer.
And then you got shit where they got like this. There's this whole battle in Texas. I'm not sure if you're following it, but there's like that quote unquote trans kid. The mom's trying to make be trans.
Oh yeah. Well, no,
Yeah.
I think now it's not going to happen. Thank God. He had no idea.
Yeah, like you get shit like this.
Literally,
You
he
get,
didn't understand. It's messed up.
yeah,
Like,
you have
a whole
like
lot
that.
messed up. That dad, thank God he fought for that.
Yeah,
When
you
it
have
was like
good.
that jackhole on Twitter who was talking about the South Park episode, and it's like, is this South Park
gosh.
episode insensitive, or are you just a transphobe
Every
Nazi?
South Park episode
I
is
supposed to
insensitive.
I think that
That's what
poll,
it is.
I think that poll was actually a troll because when I was looking through some of the shit, like so the way they set the Twitter up, it looks like a legitimate poll. But then you read like the repeated like, do not share this tweet if you're a transphobe, whatever. But also because you see SJWs do that, but also some of the shit he shared was like
all for
super trolly
transgenders. I
stuff.
just think that when kids are that young, like you need to wait till they're of age, like a certain age, like when with as far as development, because God knows what it can, you could be really hurting yourself like late and when it could be done later, and because like I realize like even with my kids, like that could happen with them, and that's fine. We totally accept that. Like as their parents, like we love them no matter what. Like that's not the issue. I'm saying that like as a small child, and I don't think they can decide that early.
Yeah. Okay. So this will tie in with the entertainment and the indoctrination, because I don't know if you followed anything about She-Ra from Netflix, but
Yep. I have an entire
I've
video,
heard of
3
it.
of them actually.
well they just
What is
cast
it?
Terrible.
She-Ra, like they rebooted She-Ra from the He-Man like universe.
That's what I thought.
It's on
Yeah.
Netflix, Amy.
Yeah. So one of the new
Ah,
voice
my bad.
actors is like this weirdo non-binary guy who's playing like a femoid non-binary character, and
What the hell?
yeah, it's just, I just made up femoid to just make it sound like inhuman.
I like it. I actually think that's the best term I've ever heard.
Yeah,
That should be a hashtag in the video description. Amy.
apparently, if you watch like ContraPoints, a femoid is like some incel term. So she just said it really funny. She's like femoid. I don't know. I don't really know fucking incel terminology, even though they call us incels if you're in the Fandom
I
Menace.
literally didn't even know what they were. I had to look it up when all the there's like 2 weeks after like the Joker came out. I had to look it up.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, involuntarily celibate. Wouldn't that be virgin also? But then again, I guess you could also have had, I don't know.
Well, this is what's funny. So we have another Fandom Minister named Rookie Critic, and he has not seen half the movies that have.
I thought you were going to say he
I know. I've done it. I did a live stream with him. He's very nice.
Yeah, he's a super nice guy, but like at the same time, I think our interest in you, Amy, is going to be like your exposure to all this stuff. So
yeah, we're in 1985. I've seen a lot.
You can almost be like the eyes that people who don't know what's going on can see through, like the companion on the TARDIS.
Thank you.
Well, from your fresh perspective with your new eyes, I think is what Coyle's saying is that we can help you to give a demonstration to a wider community of what is appealing over here and why, and that's important.
Apprentice.
Well, it was important enough for you to come and make such a public entrance, and so
that's because Jeremy told me to.
Well, no,
but you also are in a position to call bullshit when you see it, because a lot of us have this old, sardonic thing
Well,
going.
I've grown up like in this like recent stuff is just really really annoying. And seeing now like I have kids and like when I went to school and like I didn't have. It's just kind of like I'm left out because like they actually taught us stuff, like legitimate history, and history, but I don't know. It's freaky, what they. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
I kind of see it. I don't see it like I know it's a phase, and I know that like I just because it's so self-destructive to like. I mean, you just kind of have to stand back and wait. But you know, it's kind of fascinating, and okay, it's really fascinating. If there was a reality show with SJWs, I would absolutely watch it.
oh,
Like
it's
where they
funny.
had to
Just
like
Well, it
vote
would be
one.
hilarious. It would be hilarious because what is it, Angus? What's the old rules? It's 3 day or 3 hours no water, 3 days no water, three days no food or something. What the hell ever was it? But it won't take that long for these people because they're just going to start cannibalizing each other after like 7 days. They won't know how to do anything. They'll just be sitting in circle like crying for
Are
their
you saying
mommy.
like a combination of Lost and like
That wouldn't be
SJW?
that show wouldn't sell. They wouldn't move. They'd all either starve to death or eat each other. I mean,
What's the
I mean, we'd have to
skyscrapers
like
all again?
it'd have to be
Yeah.
like a reality show, like some competition.
I bet they'd mark that safe for kids, wouldn't they, though, Angus? Fuck's sakes.
Oh God.
crazy
So
stuff.
like, what is even like marked? Like, what if you have like a shirt that's like because I like obviously curse during videos. It's just something I do. I my kids go to sleep and I'm like let it all out. But
Well, I think it's
I
another
get.
infringement on censorship, and I think that we're
Well, this
smart
is
enough that we can
because.
figure out the.
But I
Yeah.
mean, like, if you have stuff in the backgrounds, like, I mean, are they just saying if the majority of the video is like, I
Well,
mean,
so okay, let's make a hypothetical. Jeremy Griggs, Geeks and Gamers, super famous guy. He has like Mario and
yeah,
Nintendo and everything in his background. If they wanted to be a dick to him, they could be like, "Well, Mario's a registered trademark, and
yeah.
Sonic the
Well,
Hedgehog sounds like this. You can't make any more videos." If they wanted to
But what
be a
if you
dick,
cuss during the video and then you've got that in the background?
right? Well, and that's the same thing. Jeff, world class bullshitters, right? So
Yeah.
he can't have anything that's kid friendly just because he says shit, even if his thing was completely sanitized, right?
well,
But
the
I
thing too is,
It out or something, but what you can't do, you have to edit it and then you have to take
could
it off
do
and you have to
that.
redo that.
I mean, but I think the thing is like we're adults the same age talking to each other about things we're interested in. And YouTube or whoever is in charge of this policy. Let's not say
No, they're
YouTube.
not.
YouTube is a gorgeous
It's
medium.
FTC now.
It's FTC. So
you know what it
they
was? It was the Momo shit. It's stuff like that, and it's stuff like I don't know if you've ever seen the things called Happy Tree Critters. Stuff that tricks
What?
kids.
Well,
Happy Tree Critters
no, I
is
mean
like a YouTube
YouTube broke the
series.
law by, collecting, well, as Google did. I mean, they broke, and now it's just on the creators because like YouTube just like washed your hands of it.
Yeah, well, no, I get that as well. With like, oh god, if we don't do something, we're holding liability unless we put something in the
And you
format
have to do
we
all
hold.
your old videos. You have to do something about it. I like don't really. I mean,
Yeah, but no, like, there's been weird shit. Like, I don't know if you ever saw Tosh Point oh. Like,
yeah, I
it was
Yep.
have.
funny, but he was showing like, wait, there's like this weird pseudo or like borderline like pedo shit on YouTube where it's like just watching like young girls in mermaid
Gross.
suits and like cheerleading and whatever. And it's
Gross.
like the main audience that watches it and talks about it online is like dudes though,
That's disgusting.
And yeah, it was like he's like having fun, but he's like actually uncovering like this weirdo shit. It's like, how is no one talking about this? This is weird. It's on YouTube. It's big. It's got huge view counts and stuff. So you got stuff like that. You got Momo. You got shit where it's like I don't know how much this is rumor because my wife works at like a little kid like a Head Start as a teacher. So I don't know how much is
Oh,
just
how
like
nice.
dumb moms spreading rumors, but apparently there was some streaming, whatever, that kids would get in like the YouTube wormhole, and they'd have like figure out access
still
to
gonna
you or some
watch
shit.
it.
You know, it was.
They're still gonna find stuff and watch it. It's not like difficult.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just you hear all this weird stuff, plus the Momo rumor scare
But
on YouTube
well,
and stuff.
what's the Momo thing?
There was like that creepy face chick that like she'd tell people like kill their parents and stuff. So I never seen a video of Momo, but you know
Whoa.
it's become a meme and stuff. But this was like a scare on YouTube. It was stuff like that. I think is something where
there's some
YouTube
weird
doesn't want to like
freaking
have
people
any
out there.
responsibility. So
Well, then I also
yeah.
want to raise this point. Could it possibly be our version of parental advisory explicit lyrics? Remember in the early 90s where
on the CDs.
Tupac and all that? Yeah. So like that was
I
Tipper
still
Gore
got
going
them.
like, oh my God. Yeah, and then what's that
Thank
make
you,
us do as
Napster.
consumers? Yeah. As consumers, that's the first thing that we're going to go to. So if we come up with some
You're
sort
gonna
of
go
like
to a
YouTube version of like you can't watch this here, that's the first thing everyone's going to watch.
well, yeah, and kids they like this doesn't stop them from being able to like just go type something in and watch something totally different. Like if they have access to it, they have access to it.
If they have access to the
Marking it-
internet, it's all done anyway.
Yeah. There you go.
No
Well, I mean,
secrets.
you can put up parental controls, like that's about it.
Yeah.
I feel like this is like
Hashtag
a
war
parenting
campaign.
issue. Like I feel like this, even as a parent, like this would be my problem, not the creators of YouTube.
Right.
yeah, it's weird. I mean, I don't know
Well,
how to judge it.
It's
right
an
now
escape
because-
for the platform to escape culpability. That's what it really is.
Oh, no, I
YouTube's
get
trying to be
that.
like, you can post whatever you want, but if it violates
mean,
our subsection paragraph 32,
Can you blame
then
them?
we can take
Like
it down.
Well, the thing
I
too
mean-
is like we just had Disney Plus release the what is it? It's like some sort of like offensive warning or whatever at the beginning of
Yeah,
like
I
Dumbo and
saw
stuff,
it.
which I'm cool with actually because it's like
At
something.
least they like didn't change it. Like
Yeah,
you
like,
know,
if-
at
if
least
they-
they're like, hey, people used to be worse.
Yeah, if they're like, hey, these crows are black people from the 40s.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I love it because I'm black and I
From
get a
Dumbo?
kick out of the old racist humor. It's just funny to me. I don't know why. It's like Chappelle. You watch Chappelle and it's racist, and it's like this shit's funny.
Did you see his like
Sticks
God,
and
what was
Stones?
it?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm bi too. So when he started doing the LGBT thing, I loved it because I'm conservative and
It's-
stuff. I don't
it was
identify
funny.
with that shit. It's like I'm this letter, and this makes me spit. All that stupid shit.
Well,
It's
and
like, I'm a
it's
person.
labeling yourself. Like, yeah, that's just part of who you are. It's not are.
Yeah, I love it. He hit at
Yeah.
everyone, and like when he's like, "Oh, hey, fellas, you need to support women in abortion because it's their body and stuff." And it's like, and on the other
Those
hand,
guys are gonna get screwed in the end.
no, I
because
like what he
they're
said
gonna
though.
turn on 'em.
I like what he said though because he's like, and just
I
like
should be
that,
able to-
my wallet, my choice.
Yeah, I know.
I
know.
loved it. Oh, punch them
It's
bitches in the face.
it's a good point.
Loved it. Sticks and stones. See,
Well-
this is a great thing. Just the name of his special in the climate we're
It was
in.
perfect.
It's like you're an artist.
You knew what you were
so-
gonna be watching. Yeah.
Yeah, you're an artist. Like I love the collected editions of
His setups are so great too.
Yeah.
You don't see it coming.
yeah.
Like when he talked about that woman, he like approaches him and she was like, like I'll do this for like, $5, and he goes, 1. Like,
I don't know if you've seen the collected fantasy artwork of Spectrum. They do like
No.
fantasy art collections. They're awesome. They're on like I think volume 25. Check them out. They got great art. It's a great way to find all sorts of like Magic the Gathering, D&D, comic.
I've
just
never
all
even
sorts
heard
of.
of this. Like.
Yeah, I'll send you.
Okay.
I'll send you like an Amazon link.
Thank
later.
you so much.
You can start digging through
Well,
and
because
stuff.
inspiration is like kind of like because it's kind of I just go to a canvas and I like just start going. I don't have a plan, and if you think about it too hard, you get stalled.
Yeah.
It's like with writer's block. It's like it's not like there's a blinking cursor on the canvas because otherwise I'd probably never be able to do anything.
Well, it's
I have
because you
trouble
can't take
finishing
back a
stuff is my
brush of
problem.
the right. You can't take back a stroke of a pen
Exactly.
or the stroke of a brush.
Yeah, exactly.
What you just said sounds a lot like this documentary I watched of H.R. Giger, the alien artist. Apparently, he like never sketched his stuff. He would just start spray painting everything he did, which was when you know that and you see what he did, it's like there was no sketching, there's no planning, he just did it. Like wow. But the reason I brought up
Yeah.
Spectrum is I can't think of the title, but this is an example. Same in poetry. The title itself is an extension of art a lot of the time, where the title says something about the piece itself. There's this funny painting where it's like a lion. It's anthropomorphic world. You see other entities through the glass on the street and stuff while he's in the restaurant. And he's like eating a salad. And you're like, oh, whatever. It's, real life, but you're making it like a lion. But the title says something to like hint at vegetarian. And it's like, that's funny because he's a lion, So that's why I like Sticks and Stones, where it's like, Sticks and Stones never hurt me, but today they do. Words are violence, And
Words hurt.
yeah, I love
Yeah,
it.
they do.
I love it. The only words that have actual power is from like government officials. If Trump says kill all Mexicans,
Or like your family.
Yeah, like if Trump
know,
says
like,
kill all Mexicans, or if your parents, say something
I'm
to
so
dictate your
disappointed in
life.
you.
Besides stuff like that that actually influences like decisions done, that words don't
Yeah.
have any power, and so the fact people get so triggered at hearing things. So yeah, like rounding back to like the Disney thing with their warning, I was totally cool with it. I think people
I
just try to
roll
find.
my eyes at that stuff. It's like the thing with like Lady and the Tramp with like the Siamese cats. Like I heard like I remember reading someone like they actually asked like Siamese people if they were like insulted by that, and they were like, no.
Yeah, see the same thing with the Redskins. I'm an American Indian,
The Redskins is,
and I fucking
well,
love.
I actually
Logo.
I have Cherokee in me as well, actually.
Yeah, it's funny. It goes
generations
back to
back,
white Democrats trying to tell people what they can have. Where it's like, no, you can't have that symbol because it's offensive to me. For
I'm
you,
surprised the Redskins is bad, but
no, Redskins is fine because
no,
unlike,
but I don't think about it. I don't think it. Well, I mean, like the thing with me is like I don't give a crap about like race. I'm like that does not define a person. Like culture does, yeah. And I think it's important for us to know each other's culture. I think that's interesting and awesome. But like,
Also, why
I care about
part of the
character. I
Star
don't give a
Wars
shit what
galaxy.
anybody looks like.
Right.
I don't like someone can be pretty and then pretty awful at the same time. Like,
yeah, like the thing with Redskins is I can get how people can like jump on, oh, it's a racial slur or something. And it's like it's not. Redskin is just like
I laugh because it's just like yeah.
it's literally descriptive of like a big chunk of American Indians. We got red skin. Like that's the way it totally makes sense, and as opposed to like the N word or like the G word for Asians or something where it's just meant as a slur. Redskins kind of comparable with like Savages and stuff. You have all these teams that have had their name be Savages before, like, they amend them or something. My team back home at my college was the Savages, and I never had a problem with it. No one ever talked about like, man, we
Well,
really
no
need
one
to change
did
this.
until like people.
We need to change this team because it was like an endearing kind of
Because
admission
it was like
of white people, like, hey, these dudes fuck us up. There was a respect in that name, even if it was negative per se. It was there was definitely a respect as warriors of like, wow, I fought those Cherokee Savages, Comanche or whatever, as opposed to like N-word. Like that's just meant to like put you down.
No.
Well, that's also
No.
assuming that other races are holier than the white people. Natives said Washichu, which is the same thing. That's white skinned. Chinese said Guai white devil, right? So there's this whole like, okay, we take care of our own culture, but we also have like ways to deride our enemy, which is a very basic like psychological instruction to your warrior.
I never heard that.
And the Japanese call us weebos.
I'm sure it all sounds
That,
bad.
is that where the Weebor comes from?
Well, Weibo is a Japanese term for a white North American who is a fanatical Japanese enthusiast, and it's
What?
not a very nice term.
Okay.
What do you think their term for Caitlyn Jenner is? I'm
Oh my
sorry.
God.
All right, you guys. I gotta dip. I gotta wake up
I'm
and
gonna,
like
I'm
drill
gonna
holes
end
and
this
lay
because I'm
pipe,
having,
man.
yeah, but me as well.
I think they say
inspections. But I appreciate it,
Yeah.
Amy. It was great having you on. I definitely
Yeah,
want to pick your brain
anytime. Seriously,
on Joker
I
and
would.
stuff in
Yeah,
art.
I'm.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you want to come on mine, I seriously
yeah,
love
it's no
it.
problem.
My
We just have
my
to set up
my
a day.
channel is very sad. It's got like 3
Um,
videos. You're welcome, people.
Biden
And the one
touches in.
and one of them is my live stream, and I forgot to turn it off for like 30 minutes. And
What
I
were you
don't
saying,
care. I
Mike?
just uploaded it like that. And I just
She-
put it in the description, like, "Hey, at this point, don't watch further."
No, you should have kept people in suspense and then
Oh my
like get
God,
all
that'd
the
be so
comments,
mean.
and then you would build a
Oh, I
better
got some nice
algorithm.
comments already.
You would build up a better algorithm because you would like respond to all these people like, "There's nothing in the fucking 30 minutes at the end," and then
Something in the no wait, like 15 minutes, be like, "Boo!" Like I don't know.
We
what
gotta
were we
start
saying,
a
Mike?
warning label. Like, if you watch this video, you're gonna become a bigoted, racist, misogynist, basement dweller,
and
and that's
and just put still at the side of Angus's ass for half an hour.
Angus is making a happy face, but guess which part of his body he's doing it with?
Ew. God.
That would get you the
Sorry,
kind of,
Amy.
that would get you
Oh,
the kind
man.
of
I've
comment we
been
need
around
around.
you guys before. Don't worry.
Yeah. No, it was great having all you on. It's great, Mike, catching up with you. We'll definitely
Yeah,
have to do more of our
thank you for
backroom
everyone who
chats and
tuned
stuff.
in.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and Amy,
Yeah.
Steven, and Immortal's channels are linked in the description as well as the Indiegogo to
Awesome.
back it. Mike,
I
I
know
don't know if you
Indiegogo.
have a channel, Mike, but I'll add your Twitter later. My computer's slow, so I'll do it on my phone.
I do. I do. Just type in 60 Recce. I got a John Campia video in there and
Yes.
a Mad Max movie review video in there that I put up today. So you can go check those out. I'm just started
You
making.
like you love John Campia, don't you?
Oh, he better watch the
That's
back
your
hole. That's
bestie?
all I know.
Oh my God.
He started attacking me. You'll see.
Oh my God.
He did a walking video last week that
He does a lot of walking videos.
He does, and he wears his
I
Canada
don't-
shirt and he does it and humiliates all of us. So I had to make a video last week. I'm getting tired of this guy blaming fans. It's been going on now for about 4 years. All right.
Wait, in what way does he blame fans? I'm curious.
He blamed.
Wait. Me and Immortal gotta go to sleep. We gotta go plumb tomorrow. We'll save this for we'll reconvene this panel
Part two.
maybe in a couple of weeks or something. Do a follow up with your campaign success and stuff, and get a kind of a state of everything. But yeah, it's great having all you on. I really enjoyed. I love finding kind of crapshoot people. Like I usually have a good track record with newbies and stuff where it's like, hey, let me just take a chance on this channel and it goes well. So yeah, I'll definitely throw you invites even if you become a cancel Angus channel or something. Yeah, I'm going to end this broadcast.
No.
Thank you all for coming. Biden,
for
thanks for
having me.
touching hopefully the like button and go touch the subscribe to all these channels.
Like
Take
it?
care. Good night.
All right.
It's a
Bye.
baby.